CHGO White Sox Watch-Along, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. We are live getting ready for the Royals and White Sox game coming up. First pitch is in about 10 minutes. It's Brady Singer versus Drew Thorpe. The White Sox have lost 16 straight games. They're going for their 17th straight history, Herb. They're also going for their 17th straight sweep, or not straight sweep, but their 17th sweep. It's been one wild ride. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson alongside me, Herb Lawrence. Hello. You can follow him at Eckerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow us at CHGO_White Sox. We'll hopefully be joined throughout the show by Vinnie Duber. We also might be joined by Future Sox's Elijah Evans as well. We're being produced today by Sarah. Hello. She's very busy and cannot deal with just saying hi to us. She's very popular, but she's got other things to do. Coming up on the 1:10 first pitch, White Sox lost yesterday. Herb, do you want to talk a little bit about that game? Because another blown lead for the Chicago White Sox.
I mean, it was just typical White Sox. I think our general manager, Jake Flanagan, who just went downstairs, you can maybe saw him in the background. And when I was leaving last night, because we did the show during the White Sox game, the White Sox, I think, were up 2-1 late in the game. And I looked at it, I was like, they're going to lose this game immediately. I got in my car, I turned on the White Sox, and they were losing immediately. I think it was 4-2. I was like, typical. This is what the White Sox do. Got a great starting pitching performance from Jonathan Caniff, as they usually do. And then the bullpen comes in, and I feel bad for Frazier Eller. Making your major league debut with the White Sox is always a tough thing to do. It's great to do it, but he comes into the Lions' den and gives up the booty. And so you guys got a drink. And that was a tough thing for them and the White Sox to do. So I am not actively, and I didn't watch the rest of that game. I knew they were going to lose from that point on. I'm just mad that I don't have an active account or account of gambling anymore, really. I just usually do Prize Picks. Because I would do this all the time, the Lawrence Holmes thing where the White Sox have a lead, bet on the other team on the money line.
I think if I was smart enough and had enough computer skills, I would build a thing that would sense whenever the team that the White Sox are playing are at plus money, it just automatically bets them.
Yeah.
And then if it's like plus 200, we increase the wager amount. Because, I mean, if you bet at plus 800 yesterday, $100, I mean, you're walking away with a decent return there on a Royals win on the game on Monday. We do want to remind you, though, you might be looking at us and saying, hey, you guys look different. Sean, you're wearing an A's jersey. You're also wearing a very slick, cool, stylish purple hat, which is true. Also have these lovely beads. Herb's wearing his normal chain. But our friends at Cajun Nation are here along with our friends over at Family Farms. We have the Family Farms CHGO patio out there. There's some lovely patio furniture out there. There's some signage. There's a grill. Zoe and Troy from Lafayette, Louisiana are grilling out there. They're from Cajun Nation, the chain that Herb has. We also got Family Farms. They have some lovely chicken bacon wrapped chicken that you can go check out. So if you are looking for some great food, go check out the bacon wrapped chicken and also the great stuff over at Cajun Nation, like their seasoning packs.
Some Cajun seasoning right there.
Bam.
Boom.
So this is Mardi Gras in July. You've been to New Orleans, right?
Yeah, I've been to New Orleans, but in August, not in February, which I should go in February during Mardi Gras celebrations because, firstly, it's much cooler in New Orleans at that time, and secondly, it's a full-ass party. I've heard only great things about New Orleans, especially during Mardi Gras. I would like some beads. I will show you everything underneath my shirt if you give me some beads.
Thank you. They're right there on the table.
Hey,
you can grab them, sir. I just grabbed them myself.
Only in New Orleans.
Anything.
Only in New Orleans, Sean. Though I won't do it here because I'm at work. That's HR violation.
We are getting HR soon, so thank God we have somebody that I can go complain to if you violate my human rights.
Huh? Are we getting HR soon?
Yeah. Were you not at the company meeting?
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Sarah, you still got a job?
Brandon had that meeting like a month ago. He mentioned HR. Anyways, our friends over at Cajun Nation are here.
Stop doing HR offensive things, Sarah.
She is deleting everything on her computer right now. But yeah, our friends over at Cajun Nation, growing up only a few miles from the Cajun coast, provided with us with access to an abundance of fresh seafood and wildlife. At an early age, we were introduced to outdoor Cajun cooking during our family bouchier. I don't know how to read that. That's a French word. Bouchier? We got to learn the word.
Yeah. We'll bring Shore or Zoe over here, and they can pronounce that.
We watched our mother in the kitchen prepare the perfectly seasoned Cajun meal. The aroma of the food would travel throughout the house and escape to the outdoors. We can honestly say that life on the Cajun coast provided us with the vision to create the Cajun Nation seasoning, so we were very excited to try their food. Not excited to watch White Sox baseball.
No, this is not, like, I know if you're watching this, you're like, why am I going to be watching you watching the White Sox? It's not us watching the White Sox. It's us talking about White Sox adjacent things and getting into some conversation, having fun with you guys. So, yeah, we won't be like, oh, man, that Drew Thorpe pitch right there on the second inning was great. No, we'll check in every once in a while and say this White Sox player did this or this White Sox player did that. And I think we get to see former White Sox great Paul DeJong today, too, in his Royals debut.
Yeah, thank God. I'm very excited to see Paul DeJong make his Royals debut. Let's go through the lineups as we are just about to get started here, or they're just about to get started at Guaranteed Rate Field. Again, Brady Singer will be making the start for the Royals. Drew Thorpe making the start for the White Sox. Thorpe is 3-2 this year so far, 4.81 ERA, a 1.19 WHIP, and he's been pitching. He's pitched so far in 39 and a third innings. Really rough start against Arizona and Seattle. But outside of that, he's been fairly decent. So it's really just been horrendous or pretty good.
Yeah.
So let's hope for pretty good today from Drew Thorpe. The lineup that he will be facing is as follows. Leading off, Maikel Garcia, playing second base for the Royals. Batting second, Bobby Witt Jr. playing a shortstop. Batting third, Vinny Pasquantino, the Pasquatch at first base. Batting fourth, Salvador Perez catching. Batting fifth, Hunter Renfroe in right field. Batting sixth, MJ Melendez in left field. Batting seventh, the aforementioned Paul DeJong at third base. That's why they played him there at third base, so they can go get our guy, Gerald Rosado.
I thought they were going to be replacing Bobby Witt Jr. because he's like, oh, this Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting way too many home runs and getting way too much on base. We need a guy who sucks at shortstop. But no, they were using him at
need
third
somebody
base.
who sucks at third base.
Okay.
Batting eighth, Freddie Fermin at DH, and then batting ninth, Kyle Isbell is the Royals center fielder. The White Sox lineup, in this part,
friends,
we need to talk about this because it is the trade deadline. We were past the trade deadline. I love local product Nicky Lopez.
Great guy.
Very great guy. Was very nice enough to join us on this show. And I think being on Twitter and being a local product and being on the worst White Sox team in history was too much for him. So he has deleted his Twitter and he's no longer on that. And I think that's the best for Nicky.
Smart.
But Nicky is not a major league shortstop. I don't need to see 29-year-old Nicky Lopez, who won't be on the team next year, at shortstop. But here he is playing shortstop and leading off. Batting second, Miguel Vargas in left field. Batting third, Andrew Vaughn at first base. Batting fourth, Gavin Sheets in right field. Batting fifth, Lenyn Sosa at second base. Batting sixth, our man, Andrew Benintendi at DH. Batting seventh, Nick Senzel at third base. Batting eighth, Dominic Fletcher in center field. And batting ninth, Chucky Robinson is your catcher. Rough.
That's a terrible lineup, and no Luis Roberts in that lineup at all. And they've traded away a couple of the players who usually fill up that lineup, with Tommy Pham going to St. Louis and Eloy Jimenez going to the Orioles. But it is after the trade deadline. There's no reason, firstly, for Nicky Lopez to be on the team anymore because this is his last year. He should be off the team, DFA'd. Go and catch on with another team. And then secondly, never a reason for him to hit leadoff. He's not an on-base guy. He's not a hitting guy. And as you said, we love the person. The person is a top-notch person. But,
good second baseman.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to be doing the things that he's doing for this White Sox lineup. Him, Nick Senzel, they shouldn't be on the team. If we see John Brebbia later on the game, he shouldn't be in the game. Chris Flexen shouldn't be starting any games for the White Sox. All these people are either on expiring contracts or there's no use for these guys in the future for the White Sox. So I'm waiting for Chris Getz to wake up and just say, let's have these youngsters out here and play them all the time because we know what Nicky Lopez is. Give me somebody else than Nicky Lopez. Give me anything else than Nick Senzel. I'll be very happy. But
or give me more Nick Senzel and less Nicky Lopez. I've seen Nicky Lopez in a White Sox uniform. I don't need to see more of it. And you might say, hey, I don't need to see more of Nick Senzel in a White Sox uniform. That's fine. I think we've seen, 5 games? Let's give him 20 games and then just get rid of them and then call somebody else new. I mean, we could try 100 effing players. I don't need to swear too much. We finally have our first hit of the game as Miguel Garcia laces one in to left field. Miguel Vargas is out there in left field. He will be a talking point for today. But we do have 37 people watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you are hanging out with us. I also do see
that was your man, Nicky Lopez,
some people in the chat hanging out with us. There's Nicky Lopez, just too tiny enough. We do have some of our pals hanging out with us. Connor's in the chat. We also have a super chat from Connor. Thanks for forum. Sorry for the long-windedness. Sox forever. Oh, this is all a part of the entire thing that he sent. Okay, I will go back to that in a second. Thank you, Connor. We'll get to your super chat in just a second.
We also, sorry to interrupt, Sean.
Can you talk a little louder? I can't hear you.
We also have a super chat from last night that we got last minute.
Right.
It's $4.99 from, what is it, referee? 583. He said, I know it's been busy with the trade deadline. Your work is appreciated by us supporters of the show. Just wanted to say that from MJ. Yeah,
thank you.
We appreciate that, Brian, our guy hanging out with us. He's been, I think he found us about a month ago. So we appreciate that support from our guy, Brian, referee 583. So also thank you to Connor. I'll get to your forum in just a second because that is a long message, right? I think he's saying that entire thing is okay. So I'll get to that in a second. Our guy B-Dams is asking, is that a Frank Thomas A's jersey? No, I just tried to go with the green and gold theme of Mardi Gras, and this is Ricky Henderson. So
and your purple hat. You look at you, perfect.
Also to this hat was given to me. This was not. This
not in your collection.
I walked in and Jake gave me this, so this is not in my collection. It now is, but yeah, this is a Ricky Henderson one. No calves out. Oh, you got khakis on? Khaki pants?
No, because when I wear shorts, we're like, is Herb not wearing shorts? Because the shorts they ride up when you sit down. I wear short shirts, guys. I like to show out the gams. Of course, the White Sox give up a stolen base.
At least nobody's dogs are out.
Oh, I could take my dogs out. Want me to have those dogs barking?
No.
Okay. I mean, I know, when Sean shows off the gams, people love it. And they can see them. Mine, if you look on the camera, you can't see my legs anyways. And when you do, you're like, oh, is Herb just wearing underwear under there? It's like, no. As we talked about earlier, we're getting HR, so I can't just be out here in my drawers.
All right, let's change the subject as fast as possible. Connor with his super chat saying, I'm one of those Pollyanna fans Sox Reddit hates who tries to be positive about the team. Yesterday felt like a turning point. I beg your forgiveness for this extended soliloquy. I'll always cringe at people wishing death on someone they hate. It's an odious societal trait accelerated by social media and our political climate. Connor is from D.C., using a lot of big words. I am from the south side of Chicago, trying to understand all these big words.
He's from here, but he lives in D.C.
No,
now.
I know. This owner is a good man with family and friends like any of us, a true baseball fan who rooted for Jackie Robinson the moment he took the field. In the 40s, no less, which America was broadly racist. In the same way I imagine black fans cringed when T.A. taunted by white fans crossed into stereotypes, I often cringe when fans taunt a Jewish owner as cheap. We can all practice empathy when speaking. That said, the ongoing deconstruction of the White Sox is harmful to the integrity of the game. As Sean said, it's ridiculous to say these moves are designed to make the Sox competitive ASAP. The team has been set back in an unrecoverable way. Roster historically bad, fan base uncomfortably angry, and attendance more embarrassing than the 90s. It's like watching a big part of my life wilt away. Hemingway, we're getting into Hemingway here. Stay away from the whiskey, Connor. Hemingway wrote in The Old Man and the Sea, no one should be alone in their old age, but it's unavoidable. Maybe this lonely feeling of losing my team is the same. All I'm sure of is that this deadline feels different than anything we've experienced with the Sox. Like the franchise turning point, a team belongs to its communities and fans deserve better. And I agree with a large part of that, Connor. Obviously, we don't want to extend any harmful stereotypes. I dislike Jerry, and it is difficult to be in this situation because it is odd to wish death upon somebody. And I don't want to ever be in that situation. I think Jerry has clearly laid out ways that he would not be the owner, and one of those does include him dying. So unfortunately, I am just using what his words are. He also said that he wants to live until he's 100. So if we have 12 more years of Jerry Reinsdorf, I think he would be extremely happy with that for his life. But White Sox _ Jack tweeted this yesterday, and I think this is probably the best way to sum up that last part of just the White Sox have never been in a worse state. And regardless of Jerry's ethnicity, and obviously there is a harmful stereotype that can be portrayed there with cheapness and Jewishness, and we want to avoid that as all costs are possible. Jerry has put in a budget of $175 million before. I think there are times where maybe he could go a little bit more and push it when you do have a great team like 2021. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a push, maybe especially towards the competitive balance tax. If you wanted to go a little towards, I think that cutoff was 225. They're at 175. I still think they had a little bit more of ceiling, but that's just more about how Jerry himself has operated two teams. To stay away from any ethnicity stuff there. But White Sox _ Jack said, tonight's loss dropped the Chicago White Sox all-time record to 9,580 and 9,574. So they are only 6 games above 500 all-time. They will almost certainly drop below 500 for the first time since August of 1956 within the next few weeks. This is Jerry Reinsdorf's legacy. I think Reinsdorf took over in 81?
Yeah.
80?
81, I believe.
81. So he's been at the helm for 44 years or 43 years or so at this point. It's a difficult legacy because what we have seen carried over because of Jerry Reinsdorf's dedication and loyalness to Ken Williams and Rick Hahn and to a lot of people, Don Cooper, etc. Some people, like Herm Schneider, maybe it was worth it.
Yes.
Roger Bossard and the Bossard family, maybe it was worth it. But Jerry's extremely loyal, and we've seen this organization's culture be very stagnant and be very much in the past. And I think it is time for a fresh voice to be at the helm of the Chicago White Sox. And I think that Jerry's choice to not bring in an outside voice has been extremely harmful to this White Sox team.
Yeah, and I got to echo what Connor said. I never want to wish death upon anybody that doesn't. I mean, Jerry is not an evil person. Jerry's just a bad owner of my favorite team. The person, I actually liked the person. And so I want him to have the longest life that he can possibly have and the happiest life that he can possibly have. And part of that happiness would be having this team be better than it is, not the laughingstock of baseball crashing into the worst record in the history of the game. Now, I look no further, and we were talking to Greg Braggs, who is part of our CHGO Bears crew here on CHGO, about the Bears have bad owners. Virginia McCaskey and the McCaskey family traditionally are bad owners. But the guy who's in charge now, her son, George McCaskey, has a vision and realizes he only got that job because of his name, literally. And it's good to wake up that you know that you were born on third and that you didn't hit that triple, that other people hit it for you. And what George did is say, okay, what we're doing right now with the Ryan Paces of the world and the Matt Nagy's of the world is not working. Let's go and get a football ops guy that has control over this whole thing. And then luckily, Ted Phillips has retired and sunsetted himself, so he's not messing with the Bears anymore. Got Ryan Poles as the head of football operations. He hired Ian Cunningham. Then George hired a football operations guy for the business side in Kevin Warren and got the hell out of the way and let those football people do football things. And now you see the trajectory of the Bears looking up. Bears fans are as hyped as they've been since the Super Bowl year of 2006. There's a reason, because ownership is not meddling within the team. They are allowing the team to do what the team needs to do. And you see the leadership of Ryan Poles shining through on this team for the Bears. The fact that Chris Getz is the general manager tells you all you need to know about the White Sox. A guy who was terrible at the job he had before, 7 years as the White Sox minor league director. and they really didn't develop a lot of players. He fell upwards to the general manager and the lone sole baseball decision maker of the Chicago White Sox. And now, where he didn't like the team in last November, that team is much better than the currently constructed team that he constructed right now, that is playing in front of you guys, who are losing 1-0 to the Royals in the first inning.
Well, and also, they are in a little bit of a better spot because they didn't have Crochet when he said that. Like, they didn't think Crochet was an all-star starting pitcher.
But then they immediately try to trade him.
Well, right. But like, the relationship has never been worse.
Yes.
Like, I mean, you have Chris Getz bemoaning their relationship, even though everything's fine and dandy. But he's hurt and betrayed, taken aback, all by this and telling the media this.
And that's the problem. Like, the national media, and I've been seeing it, say that Garrett Crochet wasn't traded because of Garrett Crochet's leaking of the thing, and never looked at the White Sox and said, maybe it's because the White Sox incompetence and their lack of qualified general manager to get it done. This is the first time I've ever heard a player ask for a extension from his representatives, and then it get leaked out, and then the general manager talk about that as if he was offended. This is the first time I've ever heard that. I'm sure it's been done before, but what other experienced general managers do, firstly, they would nip that in the bud firstly and say they would get all the information from Garrett and his agency and make sure that if they wanted those type of things, they would already have those things settled out and present those to the other teams that he's dealing with. Since it didn't happen, if it did sneak out and then Garrett and his agency did it, which it looks like he did, one thing a general manager or a head baseball ops would do is not talk smack about your best asset, about him and his best and his agency to the public. What if they ask the question, you say no comment, like Garrett Crochet said last Friday about the situation. You don't want to have a bad relationship with that guy as your cornerstone of your team. And so I am just irritated with the hiring of Chris Getz, because he's not good at his job, and then what he's done subsequent to his hiring. As I was talking about months ago, we needed to trade 7 to 10 players. He traded 6 and got back a terrible return for those 6 players that he traded away. A terrible return.
I would push back on that.
I think he got a terrible return.
FAM wasn't worth much, and I agree on the FAM or the Fetty and Kopech return. But, I mean, I didn't expect we'd get anything for Jimenez. They got something that is usable. I think that what they got for Tanner Banks is fantastic. And then DeYoung was likely going to be a waiver claim. They got something. It's better than nothing.
He signed DeYoung for whatever it is, 1. and DeYoung was terrible. I don't care what people say, 18 home runs. He was terrible.
But he's better than running Tim back.
Great. This is the thing. And that's another thing White Sox fans do. They like, he was better than the shitty player you had before. I don't want to stack shit on top of shit. Don't look at the level of this team is bad in 2023 and let's get slightly better than the shitty team you had. I don't care if he was better than Tim. He wasn't better than Tim defensively. He was absolutely worse than Tim defensively, and he got you a player. Good. But also,
Tim's currently not on a major league team.
That's
he was
fine.
DFA'd. He's not drawing any interest. Paul DeYoung is sticking around because he can hit 18 home runs, and he was worth a prospect. It was a better signing than running through Tim Anderson again.
As I said, that is the lowest of bars. I could have signed a player better than Tim Anderson was last year. Literally, I could have signed a better player than Tim Anderson. Because he was terrible. He was the worst player in baseball. So I don't want the measuring stick, and that's the measuring stick always the White Sox. Well, they're better than this. I don't want them to be better than this. I want them to be a competent Major League Baseball organization, not comparing themselves to their shitty last year.
Yeah, I don't
think every year
is
getting shittier.
I don't think it was a failure, this trade deadline. I think it was probably like a C-. I don't think it was the worst thing ever. I think they could have done better.
Did the team get better?
Well, hold on. I think there's a lot of different things that I want to go off of there. First of all, like looking at the entire trade deadline, no top 100 prospect was dealt from Baseball America. And I think if you look at Vargas, where he would place in a current top 100, I think the White Sox got the best prospect that was dealt. So I think that's at least a win for Eric Fetty, or for at least Chris Getz. If you look at that Fedde trade as Vargas for Fedde straight up. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Not a lot of people had interest in Eric Fedde. They took a chance on them, and they were able to turn it into Vargas, who's going to be able to play for you for 5 years. You don't know where his defensive position is, but you got to bat for 5 years, and I don't think that's a horrible thing. I think the Cardinals' involvement is still befuddling, but I think they're in a worse spot. That's why I would say it's a C-. I don't think that they got better, and I think the biggest thing is, again, Chris Getz actively hurting Crochet's trade value the day before the deadline. If he comes out and says he was taken aback and that Crochet's extension demands hurt them at 6 p.m. on the 30th, then that's fine. Okay, you have to deal with that, and that's the current state of your relationship with Crochet. But you still had 18 hours to bite down on your mouth guard, go out, throw some punches, and try to get a Crochet deal done. Oh, how's your relationship with Crochet? It's great. We're excited for him to make his next start at the White Sox. And you don't have to talk and whine for 4 minutes. It's like seeing the first 4 cards of a what's it called? A flop and Hold'em, and then literally just being like, oh, I'm fucked. Oh, I'm screwed. It's like, you just absolutely blowing your bluff. Absolutely just letting the guy on the other side of the poker table knowing your hand. Yep. Like he was way too clear and open on how upset he was with Garrett Crochet and how detrimental he thought that extension demand leaking out was. That was Chris Getz's by far biggest mistake, because if he trades Crochet for a package that's a little worse or a little less valuable than we thought, like, I think that's easier than what they currently have, because I don't know what they have. Are they just going to look to trade him in the offseason? Because I think they'll probably get a worse value trading for him in the offseason than right now, but I don't know. For me, hits a homer, it's 3-0 Royals.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, that if you Vargas for Fedde, pretty cool, I guess. But in a seller's market where we saw the date, like right after Fedde got traded to the Cardinals, you see Yusei Kikuchi get traded to the Houston Astros and bring back 3 prospects that I think you would be happier to have on the White Sox than having on what they have. But also, like, it's a seller's market. They gave that for Yusei Kikuchi, who's having a bad year, is walking after this year. So they got him for a third of a year and gave up 3 prospects. Fedde has both a year this year and then a cheap contract and pitching at the top of the league this year. And you got back Miguel Vargas. I don't care if he's the best of the crop. Whoever was the best pitcher available until Jack Flaherty got traded late in the process to the Dodgers, and they didn't get a lot for him. But then you see the Baltimore Orioles give up 2 players that I would 100% like much more than the Vargas, etc. trade that the Dodgers sent back for Fedde. When you get Connor Norby coming back and Kyle Stowers, like, both of those players would have been starting for the White Sox, and Connor Norby would have been playing
starters right now. Like, that's the thing is, first of all, Vargas, again, I think Vargas is better than Norby, and I think that you especially look at those 2 guys from the Astros. Vargas, I think, is younger than both of Lo Perfido and the pitcher that they traded. The White Sox really don't need an arm like Houston traded away to Toronto, and Lo Perfido has a ton of strikeout issues where you could argue that Perez or Albertus might be a better prospect than Lo Perfido. I think that you look at the window for the White Sox. Again, it seems like the window for the White Sox is 5 years from now. Makes sense why they should have traded Robert and Crochet now. They didn't. That's a mistake from Getz, but like, what are the White Sox going to do with a 24-year-old, 25-year-old, and 26-year-old? Like, I'd rather take 2 19-year-olds.
I don't, because guess who's doing the moves? Chris Getz, who's bad at his job.
Okay, but what if Andrew Friedman trades for 19-year-olds instead of 25-year-olds? That makes it a great move?
Yes, because he knows what the fuck he's doing.
Okay, I don't understand.
I don't understand why people keep on giving Chris Getz the benefit of the doubt as if he's a qualified general manager. Like, we're not. Like, I'm not even trying to look at who's making the moves. Taking crazy pills.
Like, I don't think that I think they could have gotten more for Fedde. Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't understand the Cardinals thing, but I'm just saying, like, that Astros trade, I don't want that Astros package. If they traded Fedde for that Astros package, I wouldn't be thrilled right now. I wouldn't understand it because it would feel like a move to compete for 2025.
But why are we thrilled about a package from the Dodgers, which we even really didn't?
I'm not thrilled.
With.
I just said it's a C- return for them. I didn't say I did not say I liked the return, but
C- is passing. That I think it's an F because you gave away 3 players and got 3 players back.
I don't think they failed it, but I don't understand the Cardinals like involvement in this, because the Pham thing is very much a wash. Katie Woo from The Athletic said that Mozeliak pushed to get Pham in the deal. The White Sox include money to send Pham there, and then also the Edman and Fedde contracts offset. So the Cardinals didn't have to add to their budget. Their budget stayed exactly the same, and all they traded was Edman for 2 players. So that part I don't understand. But the White Sox, again, if you look at it for Fedde for Vargas and then Kopech for the 2 prospects, I don't think that's the worst trade out there, because, again, Vargas could arguably be the best prospect moved. So I think Getz has to say, like, that is the most valuable piece that we can get for Eric Fedde, and I don't think it's the worst idea.
But from the mouth of the general manager / baseball ops guy of the St. Louis Cardinals, saying that Fedde and Chris Getz was looking for Tommy Edman, 30-year-old Tommy Edman, in the trade. And he was working on this for 7 to 10 days. And the only reason it didn't happen is because the Dodgers wanted Tommy Edman more. And so, but also we heard that fell into this deal, which I didn't think was a great deal.
Katie Woo said that they were trying to talk out a deal for Fedde, right? And the Cardinals really wanted Pham. So what brought that in was the Dodgers wanting Edman.
Yes.
So it was, but I didn't really. Like, I don't think that the White Sox were looking to acquire Edman. I think that was probably a part of early talks, and I think we have to judge it on what actually happened. The White Sox didn't get Tommy Edman. So,
I mean, from the mouth of the general manager, he said that it was an Edman
right,
for
but
Fedde
I'm saying
trade.
Also Katie Woo, who talked to the general manager, said that the Dodgers were the reason why Edman was brought in, because the Cardinals wanted Pham. So if they didn't want Pham, I don't think Edman's moved.
Yes, but I'll believe that from the mouth of the person that was doing the deal than a reporter.
But so would you believe Chris Getz, or would you believe Vinnie, who's talking to Chris Getz?
That's
what I'm saying. Like John Mozeliak, where he said this, it's in the same press conference where Katie Woo was at. Yes. Katie Woo was at this press conference.
Yes.
What do you mean?
I'm saying that I got to pull it up where he said specifically that the deal was for Edman for Fedde.
Yeah, I'll find it.
And that's what
right, and I'm saying that's in the same press conference.
And
that was
an inexperienced general manager does.
I don't want to be defending Chris Getz. I don't think that this is a great trade deadline for him. Again,
it's a failure.
Kept on to Crochet, he kept on to Robert, and he hurt his relationship with Crochet. I don't know what the future of the Chicago White Sox currently looks like. I don't know what their window is. I'm with you that Getz seems in over his head. Absolutely. I'm not trying to defend Chris Getz. I don't know about failing grade, though.
He failed big time. Yes, and that's the thing. The Eloy thing, congratulations. You got something for a player that is OPS plus of 114. Yeah, he's bad, and he's hurt all the time. But he's not like he's the worst player in the world.
John Denton, MLB beat writer for the Cardinals, some mechanics of the trade per John Mozeliak. He said the Cardinals and White Sox agreed right away on a Tommy Edman for Eric Fedde deal. However, the Cards wanted Pham and the Dodgers wanted Edman. So that's how it ended up. So I mean, yeah, with a part of that, the reason why that didn't get done was because they wanted to move Edman. Our guy Benny laces one into the corner. Renfroe plays that poorly. He's got a strong arm, but it looks like Sosa and Sheets will score. It's 3-2.
Hey,
Chicago White Sox.
I picked Andrew Benintendi to be my click to pick today.
Benny doubles, and the White Sox are now 1 run down. They break through Brady Singer, who had a 16 straight scoreless inning streak. So my guy Brady Singer is finally looking all right.
I mean, he should just retire right now. Letting the White Sox and Andrew Benintendi get hits off of him, rocket doubles down the line.
I think, though, that that's how that works out. Like, Getz must have known that the White Sox or the Dodgers wanted Edman, and maybe his thought was if he gets Edman, they could work out a Crochet Edman package. Like that I'm trying to think of just like ways that could possibly branch out if that was the deal. I don't know. And maybe that's why, I mean, Getz said that they talked for 7 to 10 days. I mean, maybe that's why Getz felt beholden to the Cardinals, because they agreed to a Fedde Edman deal, and he was really trying to work that out with Mozeliak. So, I mean, I think that maybe he could have gotten really locked into those teams, and that could be one of his main issues with that package.
Ridiculous. Like, they're battering around Brady Singer. Got 3 guys on to start the inning. Got a guy on second. down 3-2, and then they send Nick Senzel up there to bunt with a guy on second, giving Brady Singer a respite, giving him a chance to, all right, we're good. This is the thing about Pedro Grifol. This is why he loses. This is one of the reasons why he loses, because he takes the bat out of this player's hands and for sacrificing for one run. It is in the second inning. Play for a bigger inning than just the 3 runs that you might get. Play for a big inning that can open this game up and have Brady Singer on the bench looking at the rest of this game. Instead, he does this, sacrifice bunt to get a guy to third. Just dumb baseball. He's a not smart baseball man, and you would think that he would be.
Hey, Dominic Fletcher drives in a run, and we're all tied up at 3. Also, I just want to see Nick Senzel hit. Can Nick Senzel hit? I don't need to see if Pedro Grifol can see if Nick Senzel can sacrifice bunt. If Senzel is going to be on the team next year, Pedro Grifol will not be telling him to bunt because Pedro Grifol will not be the manager.
If Nick Senzel's on the team next year, oh my God.
Apparently we have 3 super chats. So let's get to those. We got to the Connor one. We do have one from Drew Bogues saying Sean is wearing the A's jersey to channel Moneyball, but the opposite of the 2002 winning streak. So it seems like that's changed a little bit here as now we're tied up 3-3, but it's just probably classic White Sox. Take a 4-3 lead to blow it. We appreciate it, Drew. Thank you for the super chat. We also want to give a shout out to Gaming for Veterans with the $5 super chat. St. Louis already got more out of Pham in one at bat than the Sox all year, basically. I'll push back on that. Tommy Pham lit a fire under the team in his first 17 games. They were 9-8, and I don't think we'll ever see a 9-8 stretch from the White Sox again. But hey, how about Tommy Pham? First at bat coming in, grand slam,
and that was a dumb move. I said it at the time that the signing Tommy Pham was dumb. You could be giving people like Dominic Fletcher more time to play, and signing him when the White Sox did, just dumb. And you got nothing back for him. So it was 3 months of Tommy Pham being Tommy Pham, fine. But there was nothing there. Same thing with Mike Clevenger. You got nothing for rentals that you wanted to have something back for. And Tommy Pham, congratulations. The man, I've never seen the man smile more.
I hate the Clevenger move, obviously, more than the Pham one. And I wouldn't even put him in the same ballpark. Pham, I think, makes sense because he's an everyday player. He showed last year that he could get traded and then also give teams a little bit of a boost in the postseason. I wonder if the Sox trade him before that Milwaukee incident, if he brings back a decent haul. I wonder if they held on to him a little bit, seeing if he would build up a little bit more value. But the Clevenger one doesn't make sense. A guy that has been repeatedly injured, that was notably a jerk. Yep. I don't think that he was very nice to media from what we've heard. And obviously carried a ton of baggage. It was stupid. It was expensive, and a complete failure of a move. Is there another super chat? Did I miss one more?
It's the same one, Gaming for Veterans. Giving away 3 major leaguers for 3 scratch-off tickets will never be a good trade. Fireable offense.
I hear you, Gaming for Veterans, but I don't think that there's 3 scratch-off tickets. First off, Vargas is in left field today. Lopez is currently up to bat. If Lopez can get on, there's a 3-1 count. Vargas will be coming up with runners on. Vargas is not a scratch-off. Vargas, again, could be argued that he is the best prospect, and I'll put that in quotations, best prospect to be dealt at this deadline. So I would not call him a scratch-off. I don't know where he'll play positionally. He says he feels most comfortable at second base. We're currently seeing him in left field right now. I would love to see him find a defensive home, but there's talks that he could be like a Marcus Semien. If he's able to work on that defense, the hit tool is there. So if he's able to find a defensive position, it's a lot easier to give this guy 5 years of rope, because if he can play a decent second base and the hit tool is there, especially with how he already gets on base, he's got a 10% walk rate already at the major league level. He's a really interesting player. It's like if a lottery ticket had like a 60% hit rate, maybe like a 70% hit rate. Like there's ways that he could fail, but it's similar to Michael Busch being traded to the Cubs. I think it's just the overflow of the Dodgers and them not having a spot for him and them just needing to win the World Series. I think that's the reason why Vargas is available. So I wouldn't call Vargas a scratch off.
But the thing is, in all that you just said, the White Sox acquired a not a guy who doesn't play a position. And if he's most comfortable at second, it didn't show last year where he was one of the worst second basemen in a short period of time out there, making 5 errors in the, 30, 40 games that he played. So he is a butcher at second. And I know people like Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien was a butcher here with the White Sox. You know what got him better? Going out there to Oakland and meeting Ron Washington, an actual coach, a guy who can coach you how to play infield defense, not what the White Sox currently have. And so I don't think Miguel Vargas will meet his potential here, and he won't be playing the field because the White Sox, as we said, don't have defensive coaches that develop talent. They don't have offensive coaches that develop talent. Like, show me the last actual win for White Sox position players. Where's the win that a sustained player came out of that?
I mean, I it's a difficult question for sure. I would say that
should be able to find
they made
one.
A decent decision to move Moncada off second to move him to third. That was the best decision for that player. He was obviously acclimated at third base in the Cuban League, so it's a place that he played before. I hear you. I think the thing that you have to take into account, though, especially with this coaching staff, is it will likely be a different coaching staff. We don't know who will be a part of this coaching staff next year. I would likely bet my salary that Pedro Grifol will not be a part of this coaching staff. I think Charlie Montoyo, the current bench manager, will not be, or bench coach, will not be a part of this staff. Maybe Marcus Thames, the hitting coach, will stick around. I think it's likely Ethan Katz will stick around. I think a lot of the pitching infrastructure will stick around. But, I mean, Tozar and the guys that Grifol brought in, I think a lot of those guys will probably leave after their second year, especially if they bring in a Skip Schumacher. I mean, maybe Skip, former defensive infielder, could teach Miguel Vargas a few things. I don't know.
You would think that they would bring in a competent manager. You would think so.
Well, it's either Skip Schumacher, former manager of the year, or AJ Pierzynski, who has never managed in his life. So,
but again, it's Chris Getz making those decisions, or Tony La Russa.
Yeah, I don't even think it's Chris Getz making the decision. I think it's Tony La Russa,
which is a huge problem. This is why this team continues to be this team, because it's ran by people whose baseball sensibilities is past their prime, way past their prime, or not even in there with Chris Getz. I thought he was a smart man. I don't see anything about his moves or about his baseball acumen that makes him smart. The fact that he went to Michigan, I'm tired of Michigan general managers. If them and Rick Hahn are going to be the people that are representing Michigan, it's a bad reputation on you guys over there.
Ralph wants you to put on the hat. I think honestly, you've been stinky.
It barely.
You are in New Orleans in July. You are sweating through that humidity.
Yes.
Herb Lawrence has been man. Chris Getz really did some damage to you at this trade deadline.
Terrible.
I heard a charm. Is Vinnie here? No. Okay. I was just checking in. I heard a ring, and I wasn't sure if that was Vinnie or not. He talked about going.
I sent you a little message in Slack, but we would have to. It's technical stuff, but we'd just have to switch some cords out if we want Vinnie to come in, so that way you guys could hear.
If
him
Vinnie's
talking.
here, he can join, so we can switch it. If that's fine. I don't. If you're able to do that,
yeah,
sure.
But we'll be able to hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so what she's saying is that she'd switch it so we could hear him.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll likely go away from the current game. Bobby Witt, after getting to an 0-2 count, was walked by Drew Thorpe. Pasquantino up in a 3-3 game, top of the third. Witt at first base. Pasquantino up to bat. We should be joined in a second here. We're just figuring out how to switch it to join Guaranteed Rate Field and our CHGO White Sox beat writer, Vinnie Duber. But I hear your point. It's obviously, a frustrating situation to still be here. Let's head out to Guaranteed Rate Field and talk to CHGO White Sox beat writer Vinnie Duber. Currently a 3-3 game in the top of the third. Drew Thorpe is out there on the bump. Hi, Vinnie.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Nothing much. We're hearing you loud and clear. Bobby Witt keeps getting on base and tormenting the Chicago White Sox, and I bet you, the leader of the Bobby Witt fan club, is just having one hell of a time in that press box.
No cheering in the press box, Sean. That's rule number one. Come on now.
But you can't cheer for a guy on the other team? I mean, you're not covering Bobby Witt Jr. Is there like a guy policing you in the background, like just making sure that the noise level stays below a certain decibel?
The ghost of Les Grobstein.
It's frowned upon. Very much frowned upon.
Less policing in the press box. I would probably be frowned upon just because, I mean, who wouldn't get thrilled over Andrew Benintendi ripping a double into the gap or into the corner? Let's go to what happened pregame. We're going to hear from Garrett Crochet after the game, but you talked to Crochet before today. What was the biggest thing that you took away from Crochet on his mindset of still being here with the White Sox and finishing out the 2024 season with the team?
I mean, in terms of the player, he wants to pitch, right? I mean, he just wants to do his job. And so I think all that stuff that we've been talking about him for the last, I'm not even going to say weeks, I'm going to say months, was, not a distraction because I think he handled it pretty well, but it was certainly something that was not what he signed up for, right? I mean, the first question was, are you glad to not have to be asked about the trade deadline again? And he said, yeah, I'm fired up about that. I mean, he really was kind of getting sick of all those questions, and also in a more serious sense, sick of the uncertainty, right? I mean, these guys, they have a unique and weird job, but this is their job. And if you were, being met with the kind of uncertainty about where you'd be working and who you'd be working for, you'd probably have a little bit of irritation or consternation as well, right? So I get that he's happy that it's over, but I think the downside of that is that his future is still uncertain, right? We could very well be having these exact conversations in the winter. I don't think he would be surprised if he had these exact same conversations come along in the winter. Obviously, he's not thinking about that as he's got to go pitch the next 2 months, but it's something that is going to continue to hang over him and hang over the White Sox as they move forward into the offseason.
Your guy Connor has been active in the chat, and he just said, I interned at CSN in 2009 and cheered in the UC press box on Taze's hat trick. One of the most humiliating moments of my life. I still see it when I close my eyes at night. Yeah, I've never had that moment, never been in a press box, and I definitely would not be able to handle it.
Huh? Your Murph. He used to be pounding his chest about that he never had a press pass.
No, I don't want one. Okay. Please don't give me one. I don't deserve one, and I don't have the ability to have one. I say a lot of
and I know we're going to be hearing from Garrett Crochet later on in the post game, but the conversation, I know he's relieved about not being asked, but I can't imagine that he was thrilled that the general manager said what he had to say a couple days ago about him and his representatives. Did he even speak to how he feels about and how his relationship with Chris Getz and the White Sox are now?
I mean, somewhat. He didn't give too many details. He certainly was asked about all of those things that you just brought up there. But in terms of his answers, they were a little bit more general. He did talk about kind of the idea of that extension requirement that was made public that Chris Getz wasn't happy about, right? But the idea being that he feels most people in baseball understood where he was coming from. And truly, I think that's kind of the idea that I've gotten to, is that stance was met with pretty wide support, I think. I didn't see too many people out there saying, oh, what is he doing? He shouldn't be doing that. I'm talking about, folks who take a more calm approach. Obviously, some fans are going to get upset about anything regardless. But in terms of people in the industry or observing the industry, it really seems like it was pretty universal support for the stance, right? And so that's kind of what he was talking about, and the idea that he feels that it was pretty well received.
Yeah, I think the thing that, again, I'm just befuddled by is why Getz decided to release those feelings before the deadline was concluded. If he went out to you guys at 6 p.m. yesterday and said all of those things about their relationship and, oh, yeah, I think at the end of the day, because we didn't get a deal done, his demands being leaked out hurt us. But I think doing it 18 hours before his chances to trade him away, it just looked in a way childish because, again, the part that I just don't understand, and I know we brought this up already, and I'm just kind of bemoaning it, and I don't know if there's been anything spoken to this, so bring it up if you think. But, I mean, Bob said on June 30th, and this was back at the midseason awards, the Chicago White Sox quietly engaged with brief contract extension talks with ace Garrett Crochet, but with no optimism towards reaching an agreement, the White Sox intend to trade him by the July 30th trade deadline. The White Sox have 15 teams calling to express interest, who's making $800,000 through 2026. The X factor is how much Crochet can help them in the pennant stretch and in October. It's quite possible that a team acquiring Crochet may have to offer a contract extension for him to lift those innings restrictions in the second half because of the potential of an injury risk. So, I mean, Bob had this laid out, and I'm just assuming that if a team is reaching out to Chris Getz, hey, what are your expectations for his workload? Is it against the laws or the rules for them to also reach out to CAA, like say the Dodgers, to reach out to an agent and discuss a backdoor extension? Like, it's so confusing, and I would love to figure out how it got leaked out and it led to Chris Getz just being so upset as he was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the rules of communication specifically when stuff like that happens, but I think the idea that the extension demand might have affected the trade conversations, they might have. We don't have access to Chris Getz's phone. We can't figure out what exactly those conversations were like. Garrett expressed today that he didn't think that it did. He thinks that the idea was, or the understanding was so significant among other teams and anyone in baseball that it maybe didn't surprise folks that was the stance. I think, again, you got to remember Chris Getz was upset about a very certain thing. I don't think Chris Getz was upset at all about that opinion, that he would like an extension to pitch in the postseason. Like, I think Chris Getz backed that up, supported that idea in his comments the other day. And so the gripe was very specifically about how it was communicated and whether it was or in what way it was communicated or made public, right? And so, I don't think we need to get into the weeds too much about the actual now very hypothetical extension because a trade wasn't made. It's more of like, hey, I thought you kind of trusted me to handle this. Why are you going around? Why are you putting this out there? It's kind of, and he felt, or it said anyway, that he felt that it was kind of contradictory to what their relationship had been in the past. And so I think it was more of a personal thing for Chris Getz that he was upset about rather than affecting the chess pieces on the chessboard, so to speak. But Chris said yesterday that their relationship is fine. Garrett said today that their relationship is fine. Chris said yesterday that they would have conversations and consider an extension in the off season. And Garrett said today that he'd be open to that, and he's open to anything. So I don't think that I don't think that this is a very noticeable, there's trouble with the White Sox and Garrett Crochet. This is the end, so to speak. It probably might have an effect somewhere down the road, but right now, I think he's still on the team, and he's happy to be on the team, and they're happy to have him, but we're going to be having this conversation probably again in the winter.
Another thing I want to ask, Vinny, you have Nicky Lopez hitting leadoff today, and then Nick Senzel is in the ball game also starting today. I'm just wondering, and I know yesterday you probably couldn't do it because the trade deadline was yesterday right before the ball game, but why are both of these players personally in the game, and why are players like John Brebbia and Chris Flexen still on the team as they both have expiring contracts? Well, Brebbia less than Flexen, but expiring contracts and really have no use for the White Sox future. Like, is there any reason why, firstly, they're in the lineup, and then secondly, why they're still on the team?
Well, I guess they're in the lineup because they're on the team. To answer that one, easily and not to your liking. But why are they still on the team? Good question, and that might change over the next few days, weeks, couple of months. We'll see. I mean, a guy like Nicky Lopez, a guy like John Brebbia, they're here because they have been here, right? You're not just going to cut them the second you can, maybe, right? Maybe there's a little bit more consideration that needs to be done. There is an off day tomorrow. Maybe, you start to see some of those moves toward the future start ramping up here as they now fully turn their focus away from the trade deadline. They're obviously on the team because Chris Getz didn't get what he wanted to in conversations for them. We heard him talking about Tommy Pham specifically by saying right-handed hitters on expiring deals only get you so much. That was a general conversation there and in reference to a question about Tommy Pham, but maybe the same applies to Nicky Lopez, right? Maybe there just wasn't really anything out there he could get for Nicky Lopez, who's, a veteran guy, not hitting that well. Maybe there was no interest. John Brebbia has been you figured he would have interest, right? Because he's kind of been around the block, a more established reliever, and everybody wants relief pitching at this time. But I guess at the end of the day, Chris Getz, in the conversations he had, didn't feel like it was better to either accept any offers he did have or he didn't get any offers, right? So we could see a more of a youth movement, right? We saw that they were willing at the beginning of the second half to get rid of Martin Maldonado. When I think, Herb, you and I were on the air when we saw that news coming down, and we both said there doesn't really seem to be a reason to get rid of Martin Maldonado right now. If you weren't going to get rid of him earlier in the year, why now? I guess now you can add an answer to that question, which is why now? Because now it's after the trade deadline. There's guys to play, right? I get what you're saying. Nicky Lopez doesn't benefit them in terms of a long-term plan. He's a good clubhouse guy. Maybe he sticks around for that reason. It's just a couple of months. John Brebbia is the same way. But in terms of playing time, yeah, I mean, I remain very confused as to why Nick Senzel is on the White Sox. I don't know why he's on the White Sox. I don't know why they signed him. And I don't know why he should be playing over other people. But maybe the roster chips still need to kind of fall into place in order for that future focus of the second half to get really crystal clear, at least in terms of playing time and what that roster looks like.
Yeah, I would just hope to see more Brooks Baldwin, more Lenny Sosa, and just, we can keep Nicky and Nick Senzel, the Nickies, on the bench. We are now into the fourth inning, so we'll let Vinny return to watching his favorite player, Bobby Witt Jr., and watching very, very stoically in the White Sox press box. Follow Vinny at Vinnie Duber. He'll be tweeting updates from the park and joining us on the postgame later today. You can read his work at allchgo.com as well. Thank you, Vinny.
Bye, guys.
All right, and I do want to go to our guy, Brian. Brian's always hanging out with us, interacting with us on Twitter and hanging out in the chat. Chances Grifol is like go this afternoon, geared towards the future, starting at the top. I know everyone's rightful want and wish to remove Pedro Grifol. I think if they were going to remove Pedro Grifol, it would have happened last year in the middle of the season. And I think now that you have seen this team already at the trade deadline, I do not think at all that Pedro Grifol will be removed until the 162nd game is finished. That is going to be the future of Pedro Grifol. He is going to finish out this deal. Obviously, Jerry Reinsdorf thought he did a horrible job last year, and he didn't remove him after that job. So I don't understand why he would remove him in the middle of this season because of the 83rd loss and not, because of them starting 3-21.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of reasons, mainly $1.5 million reason why Pedro Grifol will finish out the year. So it is embarrassing and pathetic, and that's the White Sox.
Yeah, Jerry talks a lot of game about wanting to not be embarrassed like he was last year. It was the worst season that he ever had, and he wants to fix it quickly and all this stuff that he talks about. But we know he doesn't care, because anybody seeing this team and how it got off to the start it got off last year, where they're 7-21, and I think this year we're 3-22. Like, you're like, all right, I've seen enough. I've seen what I need to see from Pedro Grifol, and ultimately, it's probably not his fault, but he's not helping. He's not developing players. I'm sure all the players are like, Pedro's fine, and you got the report from Shane Reardon of 670 The Score that Pedro, after the All-Star break, came back and said, hey, this bad record, this worst record in baseball, this would be on y'all, which I have reservations if Pedro would say that specifically and not take any ownership of this team. But, yeah, Jerry's seeing what he needs to see. There's nothing that he's going to see in the next 2 months that's going to, change his mind. And I'm always of the mindset of, you're going to fire somebody and you're going to be doing something, there's no time like the present to do it. There's nothing you're going to see in the next couple months that's going to change your mind on Pedro Grifol. So get the ball rolling on it. Get the ball rolling for Chris Getz, who is a young general manager, so he can do his search a little earlier than just at the start of October. That's where I'm at with Pedro Grifol. He's a harmless person, ultimately, that will be gone at the end of the year. I wish they would do it right now. It would be perfect, because you already have an experienced guy in Charlie Montoyo available to you, so he can just sire out this last couple weeks and maybe in that time, you can avoid being the worst team in baseball because maybe Charlie Montoya has a better baseball mind and not sacrifice bunting in the second inning in a game where they already scored 3 runs instead of trying to open up that inning where you started the inning off with 3 straight hits. And then you're like, let's give that guy out.
Maybe it's the sailor soul in me, but you can't fire the captain of the Titanic after he hit the iceberg. That captain has to go down with his ship. Pedro Grifol has to go down with his ship. He wants to say it's on you, the players. But no. It is on the entire organization. And Pedro Grifol should be able to wear proudly 2 100 losses on his managerial record.
Yeah, you just want to get to that 200 before he gets to 100.
Yeah,
record,
I'm fine with him finishing out the season. Again, he should see the bottom of the ocean. He should see the ocean floor.
And he's not even official yet, right? Like, as far as one of the worst
you have to have
records.
315 games to be officially count. So I don't think
at the end of the year he'll have his 315 games managed, and he'll be one of the worst managers in baseball history.
Yes,
and it's not the worst.
Want to remind you too that it is midway to Mardi Gras. We are very excited for Mardi Gras in July, presented by Cajun Nation and Family Farms. Our guys Zoe and Troy from Lafayette, Louisiana, just headed out to the Family Farms CHGO patio. They're grilling up some great stuff that we are excited to try. You could also try their seasoning that Herb's holding up, the Cajun Nation seasoning flavors will become available with authentic Louisiana bite. And you can also check out baconwrapchicken.com or click the link for our Amazon store, which includes the legendary Rocky Rococo's Italian sausage, and to find out where their new amazing Cajun Nation flavors will be available with authentic Louisiana bite. So go to your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, Burcott's, or on Amazon, or at baconwrapchicken.com to check out our friends at Family Farms and Cajun Nation. Nick Senzel laces a hit down the line, and this is why he shouldn't be bunting.
There you go. If he's in the lineup, let him hit.
Is that the first hit? Is that the first Nick Senzel hit?
Ever?
As a Chicago White Sox? No, not ever.
No, he got a couple hits the other day.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, that's his 3rd hit. Let's go. Nick Senzel.
It's the start of the Nick Senzel era.
Yeah, it's going to be a very short
the Reds
era.
And the Nationals said that will end quickly.
All right, so I do want...
That's fun. They just open up the patio for where they're cooking. Man.
I'm thrilled.
I wish there was a smell-o-vision. We're supposed to have smell-o-vision by now. Damn, get to it, future. We're supposed to have both hoverboards and smell-o-vision by now. But if you guys had it, man, the smell's coming out from the Family Farms or the Cajun Nation patio.
I think it's more likely that hoverboards get created than smell-o-vision.
I mean, it's easier.
I don't have a bright, optimistic future for smell-o-vision. I wouldn't buy futures.
It's pretty easy. You would just load up your TV with different smells, and once the TV shows something on there, that TV already has that type of smell within it, and it blows like a fan towards you.
But it's gonna be so artificial. You're not gonna get the actual smell of Cajun Nation.
No, you're not.
You need a grill. You need charcoal. You need
seasoning.
Gas. You need seasoning. You
experience
need meat.
on the grill.
I mean, if you want it to smell like a banana Laffy Taffy, sure. I think we could do smell-o-vision. Just tape a banana Laffy Taffy to an AC fan, and you could just have that waft throughout all your house. All right, so we are now into the 5th inning, and I think it's probably time for me to start talking a little bit about prospects. We'll talk a little bit more about Miguel Vargas. I just want to see Pedro just finish out the season. So I hear your point. If they fired Pedro, I'm not going to be sad. If they keep him, I'm not going to be sad.
Tomorrow will be a perfect day to fire Pedro on an off day.
But it's not going to help. It's not going to do anything.
It's not.
It's not going to do anything.
It might improve the team slightly.
Dave in the chat saying, remember when the captain of the Titanic promised he'd have the boat ready to kick the iceberg's ass every day? No, I don't remember that, Dave. We do also have a decent amount of people watching. Make sure that you have hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate you hanging out with us. And again, go check out our friends at Family Farms and at Cajun Nation. All right, so
apparently before you start, Jimbo in the chat says that the White Sox do what White Sox do the best. Base open, facing Salvador Perez. Oh, let's go and pitch to him. Let's go ahead and do it.
How'd you do?
Let's go ahead and do it. And Salvador Perez did Salvador Perez things. He kept it in the ballpark, but he scored a run.
Bobby Witt did Bobby Witt things, scoring a run.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do is I'm taking out anyone who is who is currently on the major league team.
So Thorpe, Cannon, Martin, Vargas, Baldwin, Sosa, Fletcher, Frazier, Ellard. And I'll count Frazier, Ellard. There's 8 guys that I'm ranking on the current guys that are on this. So like Nestrini's made his major league debut. Eater has been called up to the roster, has not made his debut, but those guys are on the minor league players. They're currently in the minor leagues. They are on the minor league section. They're in the major league section. Fittingly, they're in the major league section. Yeah.
So ranking current major league players that are prospects for the White Sox. Number 1, it's Vargas. With them making this acquisition, they clearly think highly of Miguel Vargas. I know that we might not think as highly of Miguel Vargas as they do. Eric Longenhagen. Oh, Jesus. What are those shades, John Schriffen? He did not go to Shady Rays.
He did not at all.
Miguel Vargas is a very iffy player. It seems like the hit tool is all right, but as Eric Longenhagen of Fangraphs wrote, he doesn't really have a position.
Nope.
We've brought that up. Vargas says that he's comfortable at second base, but he was really bad, as you brought up, according to defensive run saves. He might be able to try him at third base because he's got a decent arm, but again, he hasn't really been that decent at infielding. And then the biggest elephant in the room is the $75 million man, Andrew Benintendi, because Vargas currently is playing left field, and it's likely that he might do best at left field. And Vargas, compared to average left fielders, seems to line up all right.
Yep.
You look at his contact rate, Vargas at 80%, all average left fielders 76%, average top 30 left fielders 76%, so he's 4% better than the top 30 left fielders at contact. Zone contact, he is 1% better than the average top 30. Their zone contact is 85%, Vargas 86%, the average left fielder 84%. Average exit velocity, Vargas lines up with the all left fielders, 89.7 compared to 89.2 average exit velocity. The top 30 is at 90, so he's 0.3 off, but still near the top 30 average exit velocity. He's not around the hard hit percentage, 35% hard hit percentage. The other left fielders, 40%. The top 30, 43% hard hit rate. But his 90th percentile exit velocity does fare well, 102.4 compared to all left fielders, 102.7.
Great station.
The top 30, 103.9. But the big thing about Vargas that does make his hit tool a little bit more intriguing, the chase rate is lower, 20% for Vargas, all left fielders 27, top 30, 27. So he might not have that same pop, but he does have a really good eye. He is able to make contact pretty decently. It seems like he might be able to be a guy that gets on base, 37% of the time, which would be great for a White Sox. And he might be able to give you 15 to 20 homers a pop. But the issue is, he might be a left fielder.
Yep.
And you have a left fielder that you're paying for 3 years. And we just talked about them not firing a manager over $1.5 million. I doubt that they're going to eat the $43 million to eat up Andrew Benintendi's contract. So it feels like Vargas will likely get a shot to move around.
Yep.
But because of Benintendi, I have to assume that most of his shots will come at second base and third base.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, as he's shown you that those are his positions, and the White Sox can't develop good defending players. And as Jimbo's point, we have another first base open with Salvador Perez up, and we're pitching to him. But at least the first 2 pitches have been outside the zone. Salvador Perez is going to be swinging no matter what. But yes, I think that I'm excited to see what Miguel Vargas can do. And
Dominic Fletcher.
Yeah, so there's just a double right there by Salvador Perez. You could just walk him. That would have been much better. Whoa, wow, he didn't Bobby. What the hell is Bobby Witt Jr. doing?
Because I think he thought Dominic was going to catch it.
He's fast, though. He could have just went halfway. He was probably trying to tag up.
Well, he probably was trying to tag up, and then, too, Fletcher bobbled it, so he was probably just wondering when he was actually going to catch it.
That's just bad base running right there by Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah, Bobby Witt sucks. They should trade him.
It's right there is a bad play. By
Bobby
right
Witt there, you don't know if he's going to catch it because his back's towards it.
But fundamentally.
Right there, he should be running, but I guess my assumption is he probably was just at the bag making sure that he needed to tag
and
up.
that's why you got to be halfway right there.
Yeah, there's one out, and those runners at second and third.
And it's on the ground on the track, and he's got speed that the burn, so he should definitely have been there. But I think that, Miguel Vargas has a chance to be something special with the bat. But I don't think that the White Sox will develop him as a fielder enough so he can actually be good and give you value as an everyday player. So he's just going to be another Eloy Jimenez without the Eloy Jimenez profile.
As it is Mardi Gras in July at CHGO, presented by Cajun Nation and Family Farms. We are unfortunately joined by Greg Braggs Jr.
Yeah, and you unfortunately couldn't pronounce words out of your mouth.
I usually can't. Cajun Nation and Family Farms are presenting Mardi Gras in July as Bobby Witt easily scores and makes it 6-3. Greg, you can follow him at G Braggs Jr. 23 or don't. How you doing? How's it like?
I'm doing great. The Bears are going to win multiple Super Bowls. Caleb Williams.
Can anyone win first?
Bears are playing in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. Caleb Williams will finish his career in the Hall of Fame. These aren't, unreasonable expectations, and I've never been let down before, so there's no reason for me to think that this won't work out.
Especially not with the Bears. I think what most people are excited for is just Caleb to finally take the field. You've seen a little bit of him so far.
Yeah.
You hyped up?
Oh, yeah, very hyped. Like I was telling some friends yesterday, it's like when you are a Bears fan, you have to learn through the failures of past quarterbacks to kind of work your way up to understanding what an actual quarterback is. And so, Justin had talent, but then he had the flaw of not being able to throw with anticipation. Mitch had talent, but he couldn't read the field. Then we had a bunch of shitty quarterbacks that didn't have arm strength. Jay Cutler had all the arm strength in the world, but there were times where he'd be too loose with it, throw too many turnovers, or his leadership, Rex had the noodle arm, whatever quarterback you want to point to. But now we get fast forward here to Caleb Williams, and yesterday especially going to training camp, man, I can't emphasize enough how fun it was to watch him work through figuring out how to throw into NFL windows. And the thing that was encouraging was it was a 2-hour practice, and there was a bevy of different examples of him testing windows. Not every throw worked. There was a few times he threw interceptions. There was a few times that he'd throw to a spot and nobody was there. But then there was other times where he'd throw a perfect dime ball to Rome Odunze as the White Sox finish out the inning. So to me, that's the encouraging thing, is him starting to work through testing the timing and rhythm of throwing into NFL windows, learning the touch or velocity that he needs to put on different types of passes, whether it's in the red zone or it's a 40-yard pass, over the middle, downfield, back shoulder throws. You were seeing all that yesterday, and you're seeing a guy that has the talent, capability, the feel, and the touch to eventually make those plays work, but they are still a long ways to go in terms of making that chemistry all come together. It's going to take time.
Two-part question. As a Bears fan, you had lulls and downs where you're like, I don't think this team is ever going to do anything because McCaskies are this, the front office is that.
Right.
When was the time where you saw where the Bears front office or et cetera turned the corner for you? And then secondly, what can you give as far as positivity towards White Sox fans who are right now both bemoaning the ownership and the front office, and what could you give them as far as positivity to say, hey, I've been there and it gets better and it will get better because of this, that, and the other? Well,
I mean, we've dealt with it with every team in this city with, ownership at times not being great, and things not working out, this vision of a team, and then all of a sudden you're back to a rebuild. Jerry Reinsdorf owns the Bulls, and once upon a time they got lucky, and Derrick Rose fell right into their lap, which then led to building a team around him that the cities will forever love, with Joakim Noah and Luol Deng and, all those guys. And they had their shot until obviously the unfortunate, injuries to Rose took place. But you have that option where you will fall into things.
Yeah.
That's sports. Every dog has their day, law of averages, right? But then the other aspect of it in terms of the Bears, with their ownership not being great, is George has always been, to me, motivated by trying to win one for Virginia McCaskey one more time before she dies. So there is always this desperation to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound to a team that had no chance of being fixed and keep pushing the problem down the road because maybe it'll just work out this year instead of just ripping that Band-Aid completely off. And so where George McCaskey really impressed me was when he hired Ryan Poles. That was the first time he ever hired a GM that convinced him that, hey, we got to rip this to the studs. We're not going to put little Band-Aid fixes on this. That's not going to work. We got to start from scratch. You know, the Cubs also did this. It was a long process, but they, you know, when Ricketts came in and they brought in Theo Epstein, it was a 4-year process of ripping it to the studs, building up your farm system, and those players, luckily, eventually hitting for a period of time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I would say for White Sox fans, you still got a ways to go. Coaches, GM probably aren't the answers here at this point. And you hope that Jerry Reinsdorf finally hits a moment in his elder age, like where George is, and sit here and go, yeah, as much as I'm trying to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, it's not working. So regardless of my desperation of trying to do one more before I'm done here, that I'm going to have to just do it the right way.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that if that revelation ever hits him, great. If not, gonna feel sorry for you guys because I love you as friends.
Yeah, I think there's so many differences between just the McCaskeys and Reinsdorfs. First of all, I mean, you could just look at George, and I mean, he does seem personable. I mean, you see that he's umpiring Little League baseball games, right? I mean, like,
sure.
he's fairly open at camp. Like, I mean, you could just see him walking around.
Walk around the tailgates at the stadium. He's walking around training camp.
Bugs fans a decent amount. It doesn't seem like Jerry or even Michael, to that standpoint, are personable. They seem like very unapproachable billionaires. And I think the difference is, especially with Virginia and George, like, I don't know what their relationship was with George Halas, but like their family patriarch is the grandfather of modern day football. Like, I think that's such a legacy that you have to hold on to, not only for the city of Chicago, but I mean, like, one of America's greatest sporting exports is American football. And I mean, I feel like that probably has to feel like a completely different weight than Michael proving to his dad, hey, I'm just as good as a business owner as you are.
Sure.
I feel like that's Michael's point is, hey, look, I can take your investment that you made back in 1981 and continue to drive it up to astronomical levels that you never thought would ever be possible. What I mean, you think you bought the team for like $400,000 or something stupid, and now it's at like, you know, $5 billion. I don't even imagine what I can't even imagine what the Bulls are at. Like, I think Michael's more determined by saying, hey, Dad, I can be the businessman that you were, and not really driven by that championship level where, again, George Halas built, I mean, there were 6 teams in the NFL when he was winning NFL championships.
Yeah, but like, you know,
he had a legacy of being a great football man. And I think George is trying to put the right football people in place to build that team, where I think, again, Michael and Jerry's,
they don't care about. Well, I mean, Jerry's,
their motivations are outside of.
And Jerry said it straight up in that one, you know, press conference he did, or whatever that was, interview he did, where he talked about not worrying about winning it all, just enough to be in contention to keep your fans
David
interested.
Sampson said that Jerry Reinsdorf told him that, and then Jerry Reinsdorf said, no, I didn't.
And
I thought it was a recorded thing. Where
then he did have an interview with, I forgot who it was, when he was in L.A. He's like, yeah, you want to be just competitive enough so your fans keep on coming, but you don't want to win too much.
The one thing I'll push back on, though, in terms of George, while he is very friendly, and I'm not saying that he isn't trying to win maybe more so than the Reinsdorfs, there was a bit of stubbornness in terms of how to go about that. And so I think it took him a long time to realize that he was part of the problem, and that he kind of stepped to the side, hired a guy like Ryan Poles, brought in a guy like Kevin Warren, and started to put some of the responsibilities, you know, because at one point Mark Potash asked him years ago when they decided they were defiant that they were going to keep Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, and everybody was like, why haven't you guys fired them? And he was like, well, we're sticking with these guys. Continuity. And then Mark Potash asked him, was like, well, who makes the decisions around here? And he was like, well, you know, Ryan Pace, who does Ryan Pace answer to? He's like, well, Ryan Pace answers to me. And he was like, well, who do you answer to? And he was like, well, I answer to the board. And the board, if you go look at the board of the Bears, it's all his family. It's his mother, And so there wasn't enough accountability structure. And now he brings in, trust Ryan Poles to rip to studs, brings in Kevin Warren as the president that's going to make some bigger decisions and leave some of those things to him. So I do think that there was a revelation, that there was an error of his ways. And if these guys are businessmen first and foremost trying to make money, winning product will always make you more money. So I'm not saying they're not making good and they'll be just fine paying the bills, but you can have a much bigger stratosphere and impact than what you're currently doing as a crappy franchise.
Yeah, I have to interrupt you. Breaking news here on CHGO is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Head over to Indeed.com/AllCity to get a $75 sponsored job credit. Tukey Tucson is back with Chicago White Sox.
Yes.
It's a 6-3 game. They're losing in the top of the sixth. That's one of the biggest issues with the Sox is, you could see the board of directors, but you don't understand what part or percentage is owned by which owner.
Is that guy in the M&M jacket on the board?
No, the guy who owns
George Jacobs.
Yeah, George Jacob, who owns the Windy City Limousine, is not.
He's not on the board of directors. Okay.
And they are listed. Reinsdorf's the chairman, board member Robert Judelson, board member Judd Malkin, board member Alan Munchin, board member Jay Pinsky, board member Lee Stern, and then board member Burton Yuri. And I could be mispronouncing these names, that's on me, but we don't know which percentage of those people own a part of the team because the structure of the White Sox is different. Jerry owns the most percentage, and he is the front-facing chairman of that, but he also is listening to the board of directors, and that seems like those voices are a lot clearer in his head than the other people. And a big complaint of Sox fans is the amount of time that it takes to get into the actual stadium. And what I think has been leaked out, and I don't know exactly which board member, but apparently one of the board members owns the security company that works at Guaranteed Rate Field. So part of it is, wetting your beak with, the security money because you're hiring that your own firm for that exact purpose. Anyways.
And I think you said it, Greg, or I think Sean said it, where he's talking about Michael Reinsdorf trying to be as good as a businessman as his dad. That's what he cares about, being a good businessman. Because if you look at the Bulls, just the bottom line, they're very successful. Sellouts, the largest attendance in any NBA arena. They go to the damn bullshit ass play-in every year. That's another check for the Reinsdorf. And so I'm sure Jerry and the boards that he runs is like, we're very successful. We don't care about the wins and losses. Yeah, that would be better if we did win or lose. But Jerry's legacy, I'm sure Jerry's thinking to himself, like, I won 7 championships in a town where they didn't have a lot before I got here.
Right? Yeah. Jerry's got those championships in his pocket. So if Michael Reinsdorf, cares anything about outside of the business in terms of any kind of legacy, you don't have any pride.
But let me throw this in here because I wasn't alive for any of those championships.
They were great.
That Jordan brought in.
They were
right?
so much fun.
And I recognize those as Jordan's titles, right? I don't think of that as Jerry Reinsdorf putting the right people in place. And in a way, he did put Jerry Krause in place. But also, part of the reason why it didn't go for 7 titles or 8 titles was also because of Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah, but
Jerry
Bulls
Krause.
fans didn't care about that in the time.
I know, but what I'm saying though is for 27 years, I have seen a pathetic Bulls output, and there was obviously a little bit of a run there with the Rose team that was so successful, which they ran into, got lucky with the lottery, 0.8% chance to win,
1.7, right?
Whatever it was, and they end up winning it and getting a gift from the high heavens. Like that really seems like how the Reinsdorf teams have success is gifts from the high heavens. Portland taking Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan, a 1.7 chance to win the lottery, winning the lottery. And that 2005 team, you look at since he's taken over, the White Sox have been a disgusting franchise outside of that 1 year. So he's been franchise owner for 43 years. 42 of them have been horrible.
And he claims there was just that he likes 1 year. Baseball more than basketball.
He does, but he likes making money the most. And that's because not, I'm not trying to be, disparaging to him. He is a business owner. He's always been a business owner. That's what his life has been about. But he is a capitalistic American businessman. His goal, because he is a billionaire, is to make billions of dollars. A capitalist's goal is to be to hold as much capital as possible. And Jerry Reinsdorf buying up all those parking lots around the United Center and planning to build that development and build the 78 development is to add more money to his family's capital, which is, the American way. But, I mean, that's what Jerry Reinsdorf's motivation is. It's not to have a great baseball team, because he said that 2023 was the worst baseball team he's ever seen. And look at them right now. They're about to lose 17 straight games.
Isn't there other ways in business to get rich? Like, once you get to that threshold of the amount of money they have, like, can he go find another business venture to make more money off of than running a shitty baseball team?
I mean, he's probably got his fingers in several pots.
And the thing is, like, when I was living out there in San Diego, they weren't getting the crowds they're getting now. The reason why they're getting the crowds they are now is because Peter Seidler and Ron Fowler bought up that group and started trading away and trading for players and signing big-time guys like Manny Machado, giving extensions to Fernando Tatis Jr., Yu Darvish getting a trade. Now they're getting 47,000 people at that stadium. They're making more money by spending more money. And that's the one thing Jerry will never understand, that you have to spend a lot of money, more than you're comfortable making or than you're comfortable spending to make money. But if you spend money, you're going to make money. Ask the LA Rams, where Stan Kroenke took his own money and built that whole stadium. Now he's making money hand over fist out there at SoFi, and the team is successful. This is the thing that Jerry will never understand, that you put money in, and the results for the Padres haven't been great. They haven't won any world championships.
Right.
They won a playoff series versus the Dodgers, and that's pretty much it that they've won. But the fans are bought in because they know the ownership and the general managers are all in on trying to win. And that's all that matters. Like, if the White Sox tried to win, fans would be out there, and he would be making more money than he is right now. And that's the thing that he'll never understand, that spending money and spending at a top level, going over the competitive balance tax, gives you a certain thing with the fans to say, hey, man, they might not be winning the World Series this year, but I know my ownership group is trying. I know my general manager is trying, and I'll go and spend money so they can continue to do this.
And they make their money off of people coming into the stadium, and you could see with that Bulls announcement, the 78 announcement, their idea is to build a new stadium for that to be the attraction, not the baseball team.
That's my question then. If the calculus for the Bulls is that, well, they sell out, people buy Bulls apparel probably more than most.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They go to the playoffs. Well, that's not the same for the Sox.
Nope.
There's nobody at this game.
Right.
Nope. Nobody's buying White Sox apparel, and they don't ever get to the playoffs.
No.
So, why is it okay? The threshold for the Bulls is this is good enough because we hit these marks. Well, they're not hitting any of those benchmarks with the White Sox. So how is that passable to him?
It's because I think 2005 is one of the best and worst things that happened to White Sox fans. Because once he got that, he satisfied all his desires when he bought that team in 81. Hey, I did something that no other owner besides Charlie Comiskey did in this town, is to win a championship for the Chicago White Sox, and they should be happy with me for the rest of their lives. And he's trying to rebuild that 2005 team in 2004 baseball, which is not going to work. And so he's going to get old people like Tony La Russa, who used to be good in 2005. He's going to get dumb things like, I built that team with Kenny Williams, and we had that great year, and White Sox fans thank me every single second, but I think he's still living and trying to build that team again, instead of, hey, let me get out the way. Let me not be Jerry Jones. Let me hire some people who could actually do the job, because we know Chris Getz ultimately is just a puppet. He's not really doing things on his own. He doesn't have autonomy to do the moves that he would want to do. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I'm going to blame Chris Getz for taking the job and being shitty at it. But the problem is at the top, and that guy doesn't care. And also, he's trying to build something that won't be built ever again, because that year, even though I loved it, was a fluke.
He made a great investment in 1981. He's made his money off his investment. And when you hear him talking about his love for baseball, I think Connor brought up, his love of the Brooklyn Dodgers, seeing Jackie Robinson and that, 30s and 40s Brooklyn Dodgers team. I think that he wants to, like everyone does. I think someone asked, do you really think Jerry cares much about the Sox or Bulls? I think he cares about the Bulls because that is the cash cow. But if you asked him if he had to own a baseball team or basketball team, he bought the baseball team first, and he said that baseball is more of a sport. So I think that he has more of a say in the baseball team, and I think Herb's right. I think especially the introduction of Tony La Russa and keeping him around even after he's no longer the manager, I think it's a pretty clear sign that Jerry Reinsdorf wants to build the baseball team his way while he's still around to do that. And it seems like he's going to be around until 2033 when the 100th All-Star game comes back to Chicago. So, yay. Greg, I think we're going to let you go because we're going to talk about White Sox
2033, the White Sox All-Star game?
Yeah, the first All-Star game was 1933. So the 100th anniversary.
They're going to do it here for sure?
Well, the 1933 one was in Chicago at Comiskey, so you'd assume that, like...
They're going to?
Yeah. They should, especially if they have a new stadium.
I mean,
if you guys get 2 All-Star games before Wrigley gets an All-Star game, I'm going to be pissed off.
Wrigley's a horrible All-Star place.
You're a horrible
All-Star. You saw that home run derby.
But they had 2003 also.
A homer.
Can I ask you one more question before I go in? I know the Sox are
Gavin's
down 6-3, bottom of the 6th, 1 out. No one cares.
Mardi Gras in July brought to you by Family Farms and Cajun Nation.
That's true. That's true. And we've got a giant red can walking around here.
And a
Rocky
cowboy.
Rococo?
Is that Robbie Rococo?
I think that's the man from The Godfather.
Can they please, both of them, come back here and walk past us and give me some of that food?
Yes, that would be lovely.
What's your question?
My question is, can we as Cubs and Sox fans, and I am a Cub fan for those of you that are watching, don't know that, but I'm being respectful. Thank you very much. Can we both kind of put down and just agree that no one won the Quintana Eloy Cease trade? No one won it. It's a wash.
No,
now.
I fully disagree with you because the White Sox, especially with trading Eloy and Cease, they still have players that are still contributing.
The guy who pitched today.
Yeah, Thorpe is playing. Oh, boy.
Hello?
Thorpe is pitching.
Sir. Come over.
We have some guests.
Get over here, you big old red can.
And the Cajun Nation can are coming to us.
My buddy. Cajun Nation? Yeah, let her beat it.
Thank you, Zoe.
Oh, my gosh. What is
your name,
our
guys Zoe
sir?
and Troy from
Hi,
Lafayette, Louisiana, Cajun Nation, cooking up. And we also got our guy Rocky Rococo coming over.
Say hi, Rocky Rococo, to the camera.
And you can go check them out at Woodman's, Burcott's, and your local Mariano's as well. Is that the actual packaging? Oh, look at that. There you go. You need that flavor of the Cajun Nation, Louisiana Cajun seasoning.
Tell me twice.
Absolutely.
Here's some napkins, guys. I don't use
napkins. Boy. And this is why Jason Benetti no longer works with the White Sox, because they're eating on air. And here we go, celebrating eating on air.
What do we got in here?
No sodium, no MSG, gluten-free.
What you doing? Okay, all right.
And this is the chicken wrap bacon. As I said, is my third favorite thing wrapped around my second favorite thing. Shout out to my man, Ron Swanson.
And again, this is from our friends over at Cajun Nation and Family Farms. The Family Farms CHGO patio has the grill. We have the chicken wrapped bacon that has been served up to us. You can go check that out at chicken wrapped bacon or baconwrappedchicken.com. Go check it out at Woodman's, Mariano's, Burcott's, or on Amazon. I have not tried it yet. Herb, good?
Oh,
better than Chris Getz's deadline deal.
Oh, it actually came with some thought and some flavor. Yeah, so it's much better than Chris Getz's trade deadline deal.
Are you a big pepper guy? I'm excited for these peppers. I love a red and green pepper.
I like pepper, but I like flavor more. You're getting real flavor from Lafayette, Louisiana, the heart of Cajun.
And what I like too, low sodium.
Low sodium, no MSG, gluten-free.
Yeah. Wow. And doesn't skimp on the flavor, though. You still get the flavor, though.
Dude, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
The countdown, 1, 2, 3, 4. To feel a kick.
What part of Louisiana are you from?
Lafayette, well, I live in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's where the company is at. But my brother and I, we're from a little small community called Glencoe, Louisiana, on the coast, the Cajun coast. The community is about 200 people. Okay. One road in, one road out, 3 stop signs.
What separates Cajun from like Bayou?
Huh?
Or, what separates Cajun from Bayou? Like, is that different areas of Louisiana, or is that all just?
It's all together though.
All together.
You know, as you go down, you got different land features. We have our swamps. We have a lot of sugar cane. We have a lot of woods. We do a lot of hunting and fishing, and just family, food, friends, and fun. Great. And we love, like I said, we love flavor. When we got started, we wanted flavor, but we wanted a healthy kick with it. So that's how we end up with the low sodium and no MSG and the gluten-free, because salt is just an enhancer. Salt is not a flavor.
Mm-mm.
So you have to create that flavor, and you just hit it with a little salt, and that will just enhance it as well. And we have a no salt as well, but it's like a seasonal. You can season it with anything, and you're gonna get instant Cajun flavor.
And I don't think this can has it, but you guys talked about your mom. It starts all of this, right? Like she was always cooking for you guys, and
Yes.
like this is inspired by her flavors,
Yes.
right? So like, I mean, did you mess with her recipe at all? Is this straight from your mom? Did you tweak it at all?
My brother, home chef Zoe, he the cook. My brother that cooked this today.
Yeah.
I'm the tote man. And yeah, watching, like I said, where we were from, men mostly cook, and we cook outside, and we cook in the black pot, and that's home chef Zoe. Home chef Zoe.
This is delicious, man.
Sit right here, home chef Zoe. I'll give him a little spill. But when it comes to the food, home chef Zoe.
Can I ask you two, Sean and Greg Brack, do you know which Bears player went to college in Lafayette, Louisiana?
Greg probably knows this more than I do.
Chris Harris?
Mm-mm.
I mean, well, I know there's a guy from Tulane.
Matt Forte?
I think Zoe knows.
So
Tillman.
Charles Tillman.
Peanut?
Yeah, he went to the
FBI agent.
he went to the University of Louisiana, as he says.
Hell yeah. All right. So if you want to let us know, our guy Zoe and Troy from Cajun Nation, did you mess with your mom's recipe at all?
Let me tell you something. We watched a lot. Really, it was more the techniques of what they were doing. It's certain things that she would cook, and we just would. It's for y'all to know about okra. One of our favorite is okra, shrimp, smoked sausage, and chicken drumettes. I'm gonna tell you that. She cooked that, you finished. But we grew up, 8 miles from all the seafood in Louisiana you could get. We 8 miles from the coast. So we had crabs, the blue crabs that everybody died for, the shrimp. Matter of fact,
Crawdads.
That's everywhere. That's a given. But overall, that's how we came about what we're doing in regards to cooking. I can remember our stepdaddy. We lived on Bayou Teche, and whatever you caught in that water in that net, it was cooking it under that tree.
There you go.
And we enjoyed it.
Is it just a classic boil? Like, could people add this to a boil and enhance a seafood boil with this?
We got where that Cajun Coast at? Cajun Coast. We got a seafood bar called Cajun Coast, and what we did, we combined that seafood boil, but we added some citrus to it. You got your lemon and you got your oranges in it. Or your oranges. We got that in there, so it's a combination. And I'm a boiler. I know how to do all that, but it's just living the life in Southern Louisiana and Cajun Nation, Louisiana, like Troy created with that.
Tell them how we measure those, though.
What the seasoning?
Yeah, we don't use apparatus.
You don't use an apparatus?
No.
Is it by the eye?
It's all about taste, baby.
You measure
Palm
with
of
your
your
hand?
hand?
Yeah. Yeah. You just shake it and just continuously taste it as it goes through the process.
As any good chef does, testing out exactly what their product is.
And this is one of the things we got to get. We grew up in Southwest Louisiana on the coast, but we lived in New Orleans for 7 to 8 years. So we got all that culinary you got to put together. And like somebody says, so you got any recipes? No, it's all in here.
Yeah.
I don't care what you drop here. I can cook it. We can put it together. And that's what we did today. And we really enjoying Chicago, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, we're happy to have you guys. Again, you guys are out here from Cajun Nation.
Let me ask you this. Shut up, Sean. Let me ask you this. So the Bears are playing in New Orleans here. Or not, well, the Bears should be playing in New Orleans because the Super Bowl is going to be in New Orleans this year. So we're coming down there regardless. Now, I'm going to need a place to stay. I'll probably just stay with you guys if that's cool. You guys can cook up all night.
We could do that, man.
Catch whatever we're going to eat. I'm a good house guest, I promise. I won't be too loud. I snore a little bit, though.
Hey, he got the connection right there on what that's exactly? Off of Magazine Street, Uptown. You walk, that go Audubon Park.
Right by Audubon Park.
All right.
Oh, yeah, we got that. Oh, yeah.
I want to catch what I eat.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds like fun to me.
Well, we got to go to Glencoe. Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Sorry, I had a mouthful. That was fantastic. Again, make sure to check out our pals over at Cajun Nation and Family Farms. We got the Family Farms CHGO patio out there. We got our friends Zoe and Troy out from Cajun Nation. The culinary journey is woven with passion, dedication, and commitment to crafting the finest bacon-wrapped chicken, a timeless delicacy that has tantalized his taste buds since 1974. You also got our friends over at Cajun Nation that will enhance all of your cooking with authentic Louisiana bite. You can go check out these products like the bacon-wrapped chicken at your meat department at your local Woodman's, Mariano's, and Burcott's. You can also check out the legendary Rocky Rococo's Italian sausage. You can find all of that over at Woodman's, Mariano's, Burcott's, or Amazon. You can check out baconwrappedchicken.com. What'd you get handed?
You should give those guys something too, guys.
It's your Italian sausage?
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
It's Italian sausage from Rocky
I think
Rococo's.
it's a nice meatball. Greg Braggs. But yeah,
Italian sausage.
we got a 6-3 White Sox game, top of the seventh, 2 outs. You trying them?
I'll eat both.
I'll try them.
So y'all ain't picking it. I'm grabbing it.
I'm eating. Give me that thing.
Oh, wow.
What of that, huh? Veggies, huh?
Sausage and peppers. What can be better?
What a day. What a day.
Man.
Anything to help us not think about our baseball team.
Absolutely.
No.
It'd be easier if you were on mic and I didn't have to talk with a mouthful.
Well, I can talk.
Just that Italian sausage is insane. That is very, very spicy.
Does the Red Can have a name?
Does he have a name?
That's the Red Can Man.
Like
Red Can Man.
That's him.
It's simple.
Like Deadpool, but in can form.
Like
Yeah,
Rubber
right.
Man. Or Red Can Man.
Seen Deadpool yet? It's very good.
That Italian sausage is
I
very,
think
very
he can fit in the
spiced.
seat. It's a little wide. I don't think Red Can Man can fit in the seat to see Wolverine versus Deadpool.
He's comfy. I mean, he's probably he can hide snacks in there. You know, he could hide some Rocky Rococo Italian sausage up in there.
Put some seasoning on it too.
That Italian sausage is fantastic. Did you finish that meatball?
I did.
That was mercy. Yeah,
You can
that
bring
was
me another one. I will take another
They're
one.
knocking it down, baby.
that was excellent. You're not wearing the shirt.
I know.
That would have been perfect for Meatball Island.
Had I known.
Again, though, make sure to check out our friends Family Farms, Cajun Nation at your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, Burcott's, or on Amazon. You could also check out baconwrappedchicken.com and make sure to check out Troy and Zoe's fantastic Cajun Nation product. We were able to sample that right here. You can get your own Red Can Man of yourself. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the food. This is fantastic.
One thing I want to tell y'all. Go get the Red Can.
Go get the Red Can. Go join Cajun Nation. Especially they got the seafood boil mix itself, the Cajun Coast. I mean, that makes just boiling all easy for you.
Yeah, and I want Greg. Please go and get me some more Italian sausage.
Ooh! He drops everything all over the floor.
And more bacon wrapped chicken.
All right, yeah, no, that was fantastic. Again, thank you so much to our friends over at Family Farms and Cajun Nation.
Because Brooksbury doesn't work here, and I can eat on here.
Family Farms CHGO patio. Yeah, I do get it. I understand Brooks's
but they're
frustration.
They're promoting their restaurants in the stadium. Like, they're not doing it just, hey, I'm hungry. It's a Tuesday at 7:15. I'm eating on the air. They were doing it to promote your own ballpark. And Brooks is like, I don't like people eating on the air. And according to Jason Benetti, it was a little bit more. It was more based upon his disability than just eating on the air, too.
Unfortunate, but very thankfully, we just got some delicious food. So thank you very much.
Hey, Greg, I am serious. That just quenched a little bit of the hunger. I want more. Bring me more.
Feed him more for all you Ryback fans.
Eating on the air all the time.
Shout out to our friends. All right, I don't know if we need to catch up with the chat. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us so far. If you do have any questions, make sure that you hit us up in the chat. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button, make sure you do that as well and hit that subscribe button. I believe we have 103 people watching us and around 30-ish likes. So if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. We did start talking a little bit about prospects, and then I got completely derailed. So let's rejoin that. We got the top prospects for the White Sox, ranking current MLB players that are currently on the roster. I think it's difficult to put them into the minor league rankings. You see this with Vargas. Vargas would likely be the number one prospect for the White Sox if he was still considered a prospect, but he's not. He's in that weird frame where, he's pushing 24, he's not 23. He's had, 390 plate appearances so far and really hasn't been able to get acclimated to a major league level. So he's in this weird spot where he's not a prospect, but he is. If you're ranking current MLB players, even though he doesn't have a defensive position, Miguel Vargas is the most important prospect. Did you have something to say?
No, I was looking at those people. Give me bring more food. No one's listened to me about bringing more food. I was serious.
I think they'll get it to you.
Literally, they're all doing everything
They're all
else.
chatting. Everyone wants to chat with everyone else. Second, we have Jonathan Cannon. I think Cannon has been really impressive so far, especially hearing our guy Brian Bannister talk about him and how he is very similar to Logan Webb, especially with how he delivers stuff, especially with how he has a different slot. He has his sinker and slider that match up similarly to Logan Webb. I think Cannon's shown a lot of different things that make him a very well-rounded pitcher. You've seen the 8 2/3 start against the Astros where he nearly throws a complete game shutout. You see last night 7 innings where he's holding the Royals to 1 run and was extremely fantastic. I think Cannon has shown the best major league repertoire so far, so I have him above Thorpe. I'm also including Davis Martin in this. Davis Martin said that he was feeling like a rookie, that he feels like he's kind of starting this all over again after his injury. And we saw him be very, very good in 2022, was it? Or 2023? Those years all blend together.
It was 2022.
He was really interesting. I think that his delivery is very clean. He is very straight and to the point. There's going to be some players and prospects that we talk about a little bit later on that aren't clean and to the point. I think Martin is very clean and to the point, and I'm excited to see Davis Martin especially get a shot at the rotation. 4, I'm going to put Thorpe. The big separator is the fastball. Thorpe sitting at 91. Cannon and Martin have been able to sit at 95. And we see today from Thorpe the inability to be consistent and be throw something that's not hittable outside of his changeup. We saw 34 changeups. 7 of them were put in play, a 75-mile-per-hour exit velocity. That's very good on the changeup. Yeah. But you have 5 four-seam fastballs put into play, average exit velocity 95.4. You have 7 sliders put into play, average exit velocity 97.7. You have 3 cutters put into play, average exit velocity 97.9. So anything besides the changeup has been getting absolute hammered from Drew Thorpe. I think that he is very impressive on a minor league level because that velocity does play. Yeah. You just have guys that react slower. At the major league level, though, I don't think that Thorpe will be able to survive with how he currently is, and I think there needs to be certain levels of growth for him to be above Cannon or Martin. So I think there's some interesting parts about Thorpe. I think that he has a really high floor, but I don't know what his ceiling is. He might only be a 4th or 5th starter. Those are useful. Yes. You need those in a White Sox run to contention. You need that in any baseball season. But I do have more questions about Thorpe. So 1, 2, 3, 4, Vargas, Cannon, Martin, Thorpe. I have 5, 6, 7, and 8 left, but I don't know if you want to add anything on with those pitchers.
I mean, I know people are like souring on Thorpe because of his last 2 starts, including this one. I think this is exactly what you want him to happen. You want him to have some success, which he had in the middle after that Arizona Diamondbacks start, where he has, 5 straight quality starts where he pitches 6 innings, gives up fewer than 3 runs, fewer than 2 hits in each of those starts. That was great. And then the last 2 starts where the league is starting to catch up with him, and the second time around versus the Seattle Mariners, they pummeled him, so he only went 2/3 of an inning his last start. And then today, he got hit around a little bit more by the Kansas City Royals, and specifically Salvador Perez, who they made a mistake by pitching to open base Salvador Perez. But, whatever. That's White Sox baseball. But, yeah, I want all the players in the White Sox, all the players you're talking about right now, to be coming up to the major leagues and doing exactly what Drew Thorpe's doing. Having success, having failures. And then at the end of the year, and when you're back in 2025 in spring training, those players have gone through a metamorphosis in the offseason to say, man, my fastball at 91 is not good enough. So what I need to be doing is this, that, and the other to improve my stock in the major leagues to be a better player for what I have. You're not going to necessarily get 5 miles per hour on your fastball. So if you're not going to get that, you got to do with the pitches that you have in your arsenal or develop another pitch. And this is what this year is for now, where you have Drew Thorpe going through his struggles. Jonathan Cannon doing what he did last night, where it's a strong start. And that's why I don't like the Nick Senzel's and the Nicky Lopez's on the team. Give a player who's down there, like a Lenny Sosa, who's back up in the major leagues, or Brian Ramos, chances to come up here to see who they are. If they're nothing, they're nothing. But there's nothing they're going to gain from Nicky Lopez at bats. There's nothing you're going to gain from Nick Senzel at bats. But these players could do like Corey Lee did last year, where he struggled mightily at the plate, come back in the offseason and improve both defensively and offensively to look at minimum like a backup catcher in the future. And that's what I want.
Absolutely. Fifth on this, because there's 8 of the current players that I am ranking. Fifth, I'll put Brooks Baldwin. The pitchers seem to be starters, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that these guys are starters for sure. You're seeing Cannon, Martin, and Thorpe consistently be able to reach 5 innings, 6 innings. Maybe not Thorpe consistently, but there have been those moments. Baldwin, I'm not sure where his position is. He is very valuable because he can play multiple positions seemingly all right. We haven't seen him at shortstop, so that makes me a little bit worried. I don't really need to see Nicky Lopez there. I'd rather see Brooks Baldwin get a shot, maybe give him 50 innings and see if he can adjust and acclimate. But Baldwin does seem to have the ability to play the outfield and every infield position besides catcher and first base, where you look at the 6th guy in Lenny Sosa. Sosa has had his up and down moments. He's done really well in Charlotte, but he's only a third base and second baseman. Really don't want to see Lenny Sosa play shortstop, so I think the defensive flexibility puts Baldwin above Sosa. Sosa seems to have a little bit more pop, but Brooks has a pretty decent contact trait and a contact ability, so I'll go Brooks at 5, Sosa at 6. 7's our guy Dominic Fletcher, just such a diminutive player. He's already 25 years old. Even calling him a prospect is just iffy. He's on the team for next year. He's on the team. I don't even know if he's on the team for next year, but he's just on the team. Might be in Charlotte next year, but he's around. And then 8, I'll put Frazier Ellard because I have to. He's on the team. I don't think much of him, but we'll see what he can do. Obviously, if he turns into something and they're able to, tweak some Arsenal stuff and make him a major league pitcher, let's go Frazier Ellard. But at best, he's going to be a relief pitcher, and those guys just aren't super valuable. All right, let's get into the minor league players. Number 1, I have moved Colson down. Ooh. I just love Noah Schultz, and it seems like he might be ready in 2025. And even if he's not, he'll be likely in AAA, and it'll be interesting to see. I think that he might be making his major league debut quicker than Colson does. I don't know if I need to go out on that ledge, but I do think Noah, especially seeing Baseball America have him in the top 10 and Colson outside of the top 30, I think I need to just give in to what most people in the industry are saying and put Noah above Colson. Obviously, Colson has more value because of his ability to play middle infield. Even if you think he'll be a third baseman, that's still extremely valuable, and he'll be playing 150 games compared to Noah making 32 starts. But Noah does seem to be a 1 or a 2 of a major league rotation, and it seems like that talent is undeniable. There is some things and some questions about Colson Montgomery that have come up in AAA baseball, and I think that's why he's been slid down. At 3rd, I have Edgar Caro. Edgar Caro's been fantastic. AA has been fantastic. AAA has been fantastic. He seems to be a really solid defensive catcher. I don't think that there's many questions on if he can be a catcher until he just reaches a certain age in his 30s. But it does seem like Edgar Caro will be a catcher. It seems like, especially with his ability to hit from both the left and right side, that he won't be hurt by facing a righty because he's a righty hitter. I think he'll always give you a very solid at-bat, and especially having the defensive value of a catcher. Caro is 3rd for me. I know Baseball America has him at 90 and Hagen Smith at 46, but I think Caro has been undeniably fantastic, and you see his brother Hefferson of the Milwaukee Brewers highly ranked as well. I think he's in the top 50. I think that this is similar to the William and Wilson thing. William was kind of overlooked for some reason, and you just see the, I think, brotherly competitive nature of, my brother did this, why can't I do this? And especially kind of having that guy to rely on as well. I think Caro is going to be a major leaguer, and I think most outlets are sleeping on him. I think he is a top 60 prospect in baseball, not 75 or 90 where we've seen him. 4, I have Hagen Smith, recently drafted, first-round pick, 5th overall. He's been interesting, and we'll see how he ends up shaping out if the White Sox do pitch him at all. I don't think they want to shut down any of these guys from what we've heard from Brian Bannister, but Hagen Smith so far, especially with what he's done at Arkansas, 4th prospect in the White Sox system. At 5, I'm going to go Wolko. I know Wolko is extremely young, only 18 years old, but in his first 10 games at Kannapolis, 51 plate appearances, 2 home runs, 2 walks, 30 strikeouts, a 133 average, 235 on base percentage, 260 slugging percentage.
That's not good.
That's a 58% K rate and a 3% walk rate. Whew. So a 55% K rate minus walk rate, which is not good. But Wolko in his most recent 30 games at Kannapolis, 123 plate appearances, so a larger sample, 3 doubles, 4 triples, 6 homers, 18 walks, 45 Ks, 290 average, 407 on base percentage, and a 577 slug. That K percent minus walk rate going from 55% to around 22%, which is much more reasonable. It seems and heard like he's made adjustments due to the roving scouts and roving instructors for the Chicago White Sox, and it seems like those adjustments have paid off for the 18-year-old. Because of his age and because of his build, this could be a franchise-changing player, and shit, he might be too if I was drinking enough of the Kool-Aid. He should have been a first-round draft pick. The White Sox did a great job of getting him in the 7th round, and I think this could be a top 5 prospect for any Major League Baseball team, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wolko is a top 100 prospect in the preseason.
It's exciting. The White Sox got a local product that's actually looking up and looking good. And the fact that he's, 18 now? And struggled early. First time away from his family. Going to a place where grown adults are pitching in A ball. And he's like, man, this is really tough. But then he adjusts. And don't even just adjust. Starts dominating. Starts hitting the ball off the cover. Winning like the player of the week one of those weeks too in single A. And so like the guy tells me that he's firstly coachable and that he can adjust to tough pitches. And throughout his career, I hope this continues where he's just learning what's going on in that league, adjusting to what they're doing to him, and crushing the ball. And he can pick him up and put him down. For a big dude, those strides are not slow. Those strides are fast. What, has he got 2-3 doubles, you said, or triples already down there in Candy?
Yeah.
So, and, the outfield position, as a 6'7" dude, but he's athletic. Probably not his strength, but you can put him in a corner outfield position for the White Sox in the future, and I think you can put it away, and if he's going to be hitting you 30 bombs a year, you'll deal with whatever he does on the field out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just exciting that you have a player of this caliber with this age coming through the White Sox system. There are not a lot of people that are exciting. I'm all good, thank you. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of excitement about Wolko, and there should be because of his true resume. I'm going to make a different adjustment here. I had Mason Adams 7, Jairo Uriarte 6. I'll flip them. Ooh. Mason Adams is going to be our 6th prospect, currently starting for Birmingham. He has been fantastic. 97 and a third inning so far in Birmingham, a 2.40 ERA, 1.05 WHIP, 8.6 strikeouts per 9 to 1.7 walks per 9. And the reason why I'm putting Adams above Uriarte is mainly just for that reason. Uriarte has been a little bit more wild. Adams only having 18 walks is insane. And you look at Uriarte's numbers, 41 walks so far. Uriarte has had games of 13 strikeouts, but it just seems like Matt Adams more consistently can deliver those performances night in and night out. It still feels like Uriarte, especially with his age and being 2 years younger, it does feel like Adams is a little bit more polished. So just because of Adams likely being closer to Major League ready, I'll put Adams above Uriarte. It seems like Uriarte has the higher ceiling, but I think Adams is closer to a more finished product, and I wouldn't be surprised if Adams even gets a shot to maybe start 2 to 3 games at a Major League level, because we heard from Bannister that he wants to give some of these guys a shot. At 8, I have Brian Ramos. I know some people have brought up, the idea of Colson maybe being here in September. Antoine saying, wouldn't surprise me if we see Colson in September. This team has already brought up Ramos, Baldwin, and Colas are all early. Colas was last year, and also we saw him demoted really soon, so we didn't see a ton of him in 2024. I wouldn't read too much into the Colas thing. He was already on the 40-man as well. Ramos was also on the 40-man, which made it easy for them to bring him up. I don't think that was ever the plan, especially with Moncada getting injured. And Ramos really hasn't proven that was the right choice. He's been kind of iffy so far down in Charlotte. And Colson, I don't think really has gotten hot. I don't think Colson's figured out AAA, so I think it'd be a really big jump to give him that opportunity. If it's a brief chance, sure. If it's 13 games, maybe. But I don't think Colson gets that chance, maybe just because of what we've seen from Ramos. Ramos was highly thought of, formerly a top 5 prospect. He has fallen down before, or fallen down throughout this year. I don't think it's mainly because of anything that he's done. I think it's just been a really difficult year, starting off in Birmingham, then going up to the major league level, then going down to Charlotte. That's a lot to handle for a 22-year-old. I'm concerned, without a doubt, for Ramos. I'm not writing him off, but I'm definitely going to slide him down just because the production hasn't been there, but I think you could give up a little bit of that just to bouncing from A-ball to Major League Baseball to AAA. And there were some moments, too, in Major League Baseball where we saw him and he was like, all right, this guy seemingly is aggressive, is ready for this opportunity, wants to play, has made some decent plays at third base, seemingly had a pretty lively bat.
Yeah.
It was just about consistency, and he fell off that consistency. But I'm not writing off Ramos.
One of the things that I look for in a baseball player is baseball IQ. Are you doing the things that are smart for the baseball team? Are you overthrowing cutoff men? Are you throwing to the right base when you need to? Are you advancing runners when it's necessary, when it calls upon? And before he got hurt, Ramos was doing the things that told me his baseball IQ was up there. It was the runner, I believe, on second base. And early in the account, the guy was just peppering Ramos with inside fastballs or sinkers. And Ramos understood this, and he understood he had a job to do to get that runner from second base to third at the minimum. Not only did he do that, he got, with an inside-out swing, got the runner in on a single to right field because he knew that he had to go the other way with the ball, got his hands inside the baseball, and went the other way. That, to me, tells me he has a level of baseball IQ that some players on the White Sox, when they come up, I'm like, are you thinking baseball? Are you thinking about how to better your team? Do you understand what the situation is and what the pitcher's trying to do to you by throwing your balls inside? No, I'm just going to ground the ball to the shortstop and that runner doesn't advance. Ramos, before he got hurt, the numbers were good and the smarts as far as baseball-wise were there. So I'm high on him because of those reasons. Now the average hasn't been there and the stats haven't been there both in AA, AAA, and the major leagues. So he probably needs to improve that we're 100% sold on it. But he is a young player himself. But that is a thing that is hard for players to achieve, being smart at baseball, firstly. And so he's already got that down pat. And if he can just get the average and the rest of the stuff down, we're cooking with gas.
Lucas Ursig is currently pitching with his Oakland A's glove on. He's got the A's logo embroidered onto his glove. So that's the fun parts of being traded midway through the season. Huh?
Why would you do that in the first place?
Just put tape over it, I guess.
Like, why would you have a glove with your team on it? Like, knowing the nature of the game, knowing you're on the A's too. That's just a weird thing. Like, don't be attached to one team. You're just on the team. You're not part of the team.
Yeah. Hey, at least he didn't get a tattoo. I mean, Brian Shaw did something smart. He got his last name tattooed. That's never going to change.
They could never take that away from you. That's why I get my name on my jerseys.
There you go. So, yeah, we got a 6-3 game, bottom of the eighth. Leadoff hitter Nicky Lopez just struck out. 1 out. Vargas is up against Ursig, a fairly big arm here, throwing 100.
Nicky Lopez and Miguel Vargas look similar. They have a similar look to him, even though Miguel Vargas with the nice locks, the nice afro puffs going out of the helmet.
I forget who made the comparison, but our guy Miguel Vargas looks like the lead singer of Thin Lizzy. So go put him up next to Phil. Can't think of his last name. Begins with an L.
Tonight is gonna be a jailbreak.
Go put those guys next to each other, and they look pretty similarly. What was I going to say? You were just talking about something.
I'm talking about Brian Ramos. Then I was talking about Nicky Lopez, how he's bad
at
baseball. A great guy. Bad at baseball.
Great guy. Yeah, difficult at baseball. All right, 6-3. Vargas is up, 2-1 count, bottom of the 8th. Let's go back to the rankings here. Ramos at 8th. Brian Ramos at 8th, currently at Charlotte, the third baseman. 9, I have Grant Taylor. Taylor is on the IL. He is fantastic. He was the second-round pick out of LSU, I think, in 2023. I could be wrong on that, but he was brilliant with the Cannonballers. He was sporting a 1.13 ERA in 16 innings, but he did hit the IL with a lat strain, so that is why he is currently 9. I think he would likely be above Ramos if he was still pitching, just because the numbers that he did have were untouchable. He was great at Louisiana State, or at least interesting at Louisiana State, and also great in the Summer League as well. A big strikeout arm, and the thing that was most interesting that he ended up showing in Kannapolis, 25 strikeouts to 1 walk. He also showed that in the Summer League, 30 strikeouts to 2 walks. Didn't really have that at LSU, but for the most part, this is a guy with great control and is a starter. So if he can figure out some of these injury issues, Grant Taylor could be a big arm for the White Sox. So he's currently ranked 9th. You bring up the package and calling it a failure from Chris Getz on the Vargas thing. Vargas caught looking and striking out here for the second out of the 8th inning. But 10th, I have Joral Perez. I wanted to rank Alexander Albertus above Perez, and Baseball America currently had Albertus above Perez in their mid-season update. Albertus was 15th, Perez was 17th. But in hearing most of the industry's response, it seems like Perez should be higher. I think people like his hit tool better, and I'm not sure if it has to deal with the fracture that Albertus is dealing with, but it seems like Perez is thought of to either have just likely be more likely to get there. It seems like Albertus could either hit and be fantastic and be like a next level boom or bust guy, where Perez, there seems to be a little bit more certainty that he is going to be a major leaguer. So I'll put Perez at 10. I have Albertus at 12. And just to figure out with that, 11th, William Bergoya, the guy that they just got from Philadelphia, the second baseman, shortstop that hits lefty. He's, I think, played in 62 games. He 5 of those, he had 3 or more hits in them, and then in 20 of them, he had 2 or more hits. Not really a pop guy, but a pretty good contact guy. So I'm excited by Bergoya, but those are where those guys would rank 10th, 11th, and 12th for the White Sox: Perez, Bergoya, and Albertus.
I like Jarrell over Albertus strictly because he's another November 6er.
He's a what?
November 6er.
Oh, November 6th is a good day?
Yeah, it's one of the best days of all time.
Best days of all time.
Him and my son, Alejandro Kirk.
Oh, okay. I was
both born on November 6th.
I was very confused. I did not know there was a little Lawrence, but it's just Alejandro Kirk, and there's nothing little about him.
That's my son.
13th, I got Jacob Gonzalez. I know people are concerned about Gonzalez.
Because of his early start?
Well, he was great in A-ball. I mean, they called him up to Birmingham, and he hasn't been so well with the bat. But I want to give him time to adjust. We saw him make a swing adjustment, and he really changed how we thought of him from the preseason to midseason. He hasn't done the best at Birmingham, but he does seemingly play shortstop. I do think that he will be a shortstop. So part of that defensive value, and a part of I kind of want to just give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a first-rounder, a former Team USA shortstop, a guy that I know obviously had some difficulties adjusting to Major League pitching already, but was able to bounce back from that when given the chance and when his swing was adjusted. So maybe another adjustment needs to be made. But I do think that Gonzalez is still a top 15 prospect for the White Sox. At 14, I have Javier Mogollon. Mogollon is a rookie ball player. He has not made it to A-ball just yet. He's a Venezuelan who's 18 years old. He is very diminutive, 5'8", 160. But what I love about him is that it's a very short and compact swing. It is not a lot of fuss. Sarah, if you're around, if you can flash that Albertus graphic, that graphic of those 3 swings. Albertus, part of the reason why I have him lower of Perez, I think Perez has a nicer swing, but Albertus it's a little bit like Samuel Zavala and the issues that we saw with him. There's a big load up. There's a big movement to get all the way from picking up your leg and putting it down. And that's part of the reason why I like Davis Martin is it's a very clean delivery. I don't think that the stance from Albertus is super clean. I think that you could see what this graphic lays out is that there's the ability for it to be clean, but for him to bring his leg up, he kind of twists and contorts, bringing in a lot of that power and then has to expand his body. I think he really just needs to be step up and drive rather than all of this contracting. With Mogollon, what I love about him, it's very simple. He's 18, going up against rookie ball. It's tough to really get a good grasp on him, but he does seem to be very naturally athletic, and I think it's if Nick Madrigal could play baseball.
Wow.
Maybe not 3,000 hits. Maybe that was always a little bit overrated, but it seems like he'll be a second baseman, smaller with not a lot of pop, but a guy that has speed, can field, and also just is really a solid baseball player. I'm excited by Mogollon, so I have him at 14. At 15, similarly, I have Zavala. I think there's some issues with Zavala. Samuel Zavala, I don't know if he has a great eye at the plate or if he's just being patient and, pitchers just walk a ton of guys. There hasn't been a ton of pop. There hasn't been a ton of slug with him, and that's my concern. Is he too small? Can he add weight? He's very young, and I think that's why he should be a top 15 prospect for the White Sox, but I don't think it's all there with Zavala. Just not a lot of great shakes. I think his slugging percentage is under 330. There's a decent amount of speed and athleticism there. He still plays center field. There's room to grow, but during this offseason, dude needs to eat a ton of bacon wrapped chicken. And it's good for you. It
is.
You got a ton of protein.
You're saying, not a lot of slug. It is 311. It's really down. But his on base, as you said, 348. Like, his average is in the 100s, but he's getting on base via the walk. That is a thing that if I'm a scouting director, a minor league farm guy, I'm at least hardened by that. And Vinny Pasquantino has left the earth. It is now 8-3 Kansas City Royals over their Chicago White Sox. But, yes, he hasn't really shown the power bat as yet as a White Sox. So, yeah, he needs to get that, 6'1", 6'2" frame, 170-pound frame, a little bit more. As like you said, bacon wrapped chicken, get that protein in your body and get to the weight room and get your body right. If he gets to like the 200 pounds, solid. Add 25 pounds of muscle in an offseason, anybody can do that.
Can they? I would love to do that. Someone hit me up if you know how to do that. At 16, I have Kai Busch. Busch will likely be a starter. I know some people like him because of the ERA. I don't love him because he isn't really a big strikeout guy in AA. I don't think he's shown that in AAA. He does a great job of avoiding walks, but I don't know if Kai Busch is going to be a fifth starter in Major League Baseball. I don't know if he has that type of arsenal. He's been good so far in AA, but I really question his top-end talent. I think Kai Busch will be a White Sox at some point. He might even be a White Sox come August and September, but he's one of those guys that they can give him the runway because if he fails, he fails. He's not really as important as like a Colson, and I don't really think he has the top end of a Colson, Noah Schultz, et cetera. Kai Busch seemingly does have a limited potential, and you could see that in just some of the ways that he attacks pitchers or attacks hitters. He's in the zone a decent amount and is able to get outs, but I think I like Eater's repertoire a little bit more, but it seems like Busch is a little bit more polished. Also, I think Kai Busch is younger, so that's why we have Busch at 16. At 17, Caleb Bonnemer, the prep player that they drafted in the second round. Bonnemer, I think he's, again, very raw. It could be a fantastic pick. Bonnemer could be a top 10 prospect come the preseason. I just don't know what his journey is going to be like for the rest of the year. I don't know where they're going to place him and what his White Sox journey for the rest of 2024 is going to look like. So Bonnemer, it was a good pick. I like that they were able to sign him. I'll put him at 17 right now. Mogollon has played against rookie ball, and we've seen a little bit of him, so it's easier to put him higher. Jacob Gonzalez, again, a former first-rounder who was a shortstop. We've seen him at least get up to AA, have some success in AA. He's fallen off a little bit, but I think he can bounce back. I'll put Bonnemer at 17. Speaking of Bush versus Eder, Eder really hasn't gotten those results, but I think he has the better repertoire. I'll put him at 18. It still seems like Eder hasn't been able to put that consistent success together. Bush, even though I like his arsenal less, has been able to push that consistent success together. So we'll go Bush over Eder. Bush at 16, Bonham at 17, Eder at 18. A guy that has completely fallen off, not as much as Peyton Paulette, but Nick Nastrini at 19, a guy that has been at the major league level, was sent down to Charlotte to work on a few things, and man, he is just not able to figure it out. I don't know if this is a future reliever. I don't know if he is a starter. I don't know if he'll make it to the major leagues again. He might be a part of the rotation. It just seems to be extremely ineffective, wild beyond belief, 10 K per 9, but also like a 6 K per 9 in Charlotte. And when you saw Nastrini at the major league level, I don't think there was a lot of pitches that wowed me. You know, Thorpe has a really great changeup. Cannon has a really great sinker and a really great sweeper. I think you also look at David Martin's fastball and sweeper combo. Those are really intriguing. I don't think we saw that great fastball from Nastrini that he either showed control like Martin has shown or really a great bite to his slider where he was able to show a consistency locating for a strike, which has unfortunately plagued him down in Charlotte as well. So Nastrini down to 19. I guess Jordan Leisure isn't in here.
Yeah. Do you think
I didn't put Jordan Leisure on this list at all.
I mean, he's on the injured list. Do you think that Nastrini will get another shot with the big league club this year?
There's no reason not to.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, I think especially in September when you're, 38 and 120 or whatever, I mean, why not?
I mean, think about how we thought about Nastrini and Cannon at the beginning of the year. Like, I think most White Sox fans, if you had to guess, that they were probably higher on Nastrini than Cannon as far as coming into this year. And now the tables have turned where Jonathan Cannon looks like a solid guy in the rotation, especially with that sweeper. And now Nick Nastrini is whatever happened to him this year. It's just you had all the faith in the world that maybe he can come up and deliver something in his rookie year, but he really hasn't. And so I would love for him to get the last 2 months of whatever the White Sox can do. That's why the Chris Flexens being on the team still baffle me. Just give him all the chances in the world to be whoever he can be. And if he sucks, he found money last year already. Like the Dodgers trade, the Angels trade, the Astros trade last year, I think the White Sox did very well for themselves. And yeah, if some of these players don't work out, just shrug your shoulders and say, hey, man, we traded trash and we got back trash. But you won't know if you got trash or treasure unless you put them to the major leagues and say, go ahead, kid, do your thing.
Yeah, one guy that's been pretty decent so far has only allowed 1 home run in 64 and a third innings is our 20th entry, just behind Nick Nastrini, is Seth Keener in 64 and a third innings, 3.36 ERA with Kannapolis, a 1.21 whip, 10.5 K per 9s, 4.5 walks per 9s. There are some
Miguel
issues.
Vargas.
What the hell was that?
Oh, no. He can't even play left field.
He looks like MJ Melendez out there. MJ Melendez also cannot play defense. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are interesting with Keener. If he can just tighten up his delivery a little bit more.
Did you see this?
Walk a little bit less. Yeah, I did. Walk a little bit less, then you're going to get some success. Vargas tries to play a ball in the gap and jumps for some reason.
He misplayed that ball.
It hits off of his glove, so he just needed to jump a little bit higher. But yeah, completely misplayed the ball. Was not sure where to be, and ball bounces off his glove into the gap.
Unless he hit a seam, the batter hit a seam there, and it's Hampson who hit that for the Royals, and it knuckled on him. There's no reason for a right-handed hitter hitting a ball to left field should fool somebody this early in the day. It wasn't hit high, so it wasn't obstructed by the sun. His glasses were down. That's just a horrific misplay in left field. Like sometimes you have a left-handed hitter hitting the ball with enough English and it carries away from a left fielder. That makes sense. But the fact that it goes and he makes an error like he did, just shameful. Like the guy can't even play left field.
Well, no, I mean, again,
simple left field fly out.
He said that he was more comfortable at second base and third base. So, I mean, you're putting him out in a position where he's not mainly comfortable. We've seen him at DH and left field. I mean, it's not super surprising. Again, we've heard that his defense is bad. Here's Miguel Vargas' defense being bad. All right, so I have Keener at 20. Final guys, I'll just go to 30. I have all the way to 31. Your guy Riku Nishido is at 34.
34?
Yeah.
The disrespect because he's old.
Well, he's old. He's weak. He just made it to an upper level. He's really a guy that I need to see him hit like AAA pitching before I could even put him that high. But also, like, what's his ceiling? Like, another left fielder? We have Miguel Vargas out there. But 21, Eduardo Herrera, a former international prospect that they signed out of, I believe, Cuba. 22, Blake Larson, their third-round pick of the most recent draft. 23, Aldrin Batista. 24, he's a relief pitcher-ish. He's been interesting for sure, Batista. Yeah, I think mainly a reliever. Just want to double check. No, he's mainly been a starter. 16 games started with Kannapolis, 3.50 ERA, 79.2 2/3 innings so far. But he's kind of similar to Keener, strikes out a little less, walks a little less, and then has given up some homers, but is fairly avoided for the most part. F24, Wilfred Veras. He is, I believe, with Winston-Salem. He's got a decent amount of pop, but that's really all he brings with his game. Nick McLean, brother of Matt McLean, that they drafted out of ASU in the 2024 draft. Slots at 25. 26, Juan Carrella, that they got from the Yankees recently. 27, Yokir Farhado. Please, that's the first time that I'm ever saying this name. That's your guy. Please, if I said that wrong, my bad on that. But he is a starting pitcher, and he is interesting to say the least. Yokir Farhado. He is a starter from Venezuela, 17 years old, 41 2/3 innings pitched so far in the Dominican Summer League, 367 ERA. But what's most intriguing, one home run allowed in those 41 2/3 innings, 57 strikeouts, 7 walks. So he's been extremely interesting to see him, but he's at such a low level that it's tough to actually gauge him. I'm higher on Wes Kath than most people. I know that he was a higher round pick for the White Sox, and he hasn't been great so far, but he hasn't been terrible. I'll put him at 28 just because he has some position flexibility to either play third or left field or maybe even first base.
And I know people are like I've heard Wes Kath's name forever. They got him out of high school, so he's still relatively young.
Yeah, I think he's only 21. 29, Ronnie Hernandez. He's a catcher at Kannapolis. Does a great job of walking. Does a great job of hitting the baseball. Just hits for no pop. Has 1 homer so far, but I think he's a pretty decent defensive catcher. Catchers are so important that Hernandez is 29. He's the best of their bunch. But the catchers outside of Caro, there's not a lot to be excited about. And then 30, I have Tyler Schweitzer, a lefty reliever that's been interesting so far and has made his way, I think, from Kannapolis to Winston-Salem. But it might be Kannapolis to Birmingham. I could be wrong on that. That's going to wrap it up for this watch along. We got to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Family Farms, Cajun Nation, and Rocky Rococo's Italian Sausage. Go check them out in your meat department of your local Woodman's, Burcott's, and Mariano's. You can also check out baconwrapchicken.com. We had the Cajun Nation Big Red Can. We were able to try the seasoning. We got more food over here as well. Very excited to eat more of that. But thank you so much to our friends over at Family Farms, Cajun Nation, and Rocky Rococo's Italian Sausage. Go support our friends if you haven't yet. We have the great Family Farms CHGO patio that we're excited to go chill and take a deep breath on before we talk about this game on our CHGO Sports YouTube channel in the postgame show. So we'll be joining you in about 15 minutes once this game officially wraps up. It's 10-3 in the top of 9. Do you have anything else? Oh, sorry.
We all silly like the mayor.